This is the most real Doomsday survival novel I have ever seen. There is no rebirth, no power, and no space ring purchased by Zixi. Urgent notice, as the super typhoon will land in our city tonight, please the majority of residents who do not want to die hoard materials as soon as possible, do a good job of defense and to make fewer trips outside. This is the 18th official notice I received today. It seems that the typhoon uploaded on the internet is rare in a century. The whole city has issued a holiday notice and has a one-week holiday. I turned to look at the red sunset outside the classroom. I couldn't see a typhoon coming at all. At this moment, my mother sent a text message, Xiao Yang, the weather forecast said there would be a typhoon at night. After school, you and your Jane Zhang should not forget to go to the supermarket to buy some food, just in case. Arguably, H tries coastal cities with frequent typhoons. I don't know why the government attaches so much importance to it this time. Put down my hand and Li Feichong at the next table, I waved my hand. This Li Fei is a typical Doomsday survival fan, wandering in major Doomsday survival forums, even his pocket money was all bought into materials piled up at home. After I turned my head sideways, Li Fei said solemnly, Xiao Yang, do you know I met a big brother at the survival forum in the United States? He is the senior leader of the meteorological observation station. According to him, they observed some strange weather phenomena this year. However, after reporting, not only was he not taken seriously, but he was transferred from his post by his superiors. I don't think it's right to tell you. After school, you'd better stock up some supplies and medicines, just in case. Look at the way he talks, I despise him. Are you looking forward to the end and come quickly so that you can show your skills? After hearing what I said, Li Fei's expression became more serious. Yang Ji, you'd better listen to me. I have a feeling that this time it is true. I was about to say something more when the bell rang. I didn't care about her anymore. I carried my school bag and fled the school. The agreement with me was to gather in the supermarket. I don't know why. At this time, there were several times more pedestrians and vehicles on the street than before. I was squeezed around. I didn't notice the people who were forced to evacuate at the subway entrance. I didn't notice that a plane in the sky flew past almost against the edge of a tall building. At this time, it was just 12 noon. I finally came to the supermarket and hurriedly took my sister and rushed in through the main entrance. With so many people, I guess I can only pick up the rest later. Sure enough, there were a lot of people in the supermarket, and there were already long queues at the checkout gate for several 10m. After 2 hours of selection by my sister, we pushed the shopping cart and lined up with others. At this moment, a spark broke out on the exit line of the supermarket, and the sizzling sound caused people around to look up at me. What's the situation? Is the wire shorted? Was it affected by the typhoon? I heard that typhoons cause power failures before they come. Do you know the city subway was shut down, many people were injured, and the authorities did not dare to report it. After the man finished speaking, there was a stir around, obviously all frightened by the news. I took out my cell phone and looked at the 99 plus information in the class group. I was speechless. The message was not just about the subway accident, but someone sent a picture of the plane crash. Strangely, I didn't receive any push information from media and short video platforms on my mobile phone. Arguably, this kind of explosive news should be the headlines that all platforms are rushing to report. My elder sister slapped me and asked, didn't you see it when school was over? If you don't see it, it should be someone spreading rumors. Stop thinking and queue up quickly. As soon as my sister finished speaking, the circuit above her head began to burst into flames. Before the people in the queue could escape, suddenly a violent explosion sounded, and I hurriedly protected my sister under my body. The next second, a man's broken palm wiped the ceiling and fell in front of me. I quickly covered my sister's eyes with my hand, for fear that she would see this terrible scene. Although my elder sister did not resist, she heard the screams of people around her and knew that something terrible had happened. After looking at the source of the explosion not far away, I said to my sister, it was the microwave oven that exploded accidentally. Don't think so much, let's go home quickly. The cashier pretty girl was also scared silly at this time. I called him to check out several times before he reacted. After the account was settled, my sister pulled my skirt and whispered, shall we go back? I always feel something is wrong with buying more things. Hearing what he said, I quickly pushed the shopping cart and took a cart full of instant noodles, biscuits, chocolate, and bread. When I checked out again, I received a call from Li Fei. As soon as I got through, there was a voice of Li Fei's anxiety on the phone. Brother Yang, something really happened. The subway and plane accidents in the group were all real. These 2 accidents were being reported outside, and many people died. There are also discussions on survival forums, and all radio channels have been banned. It may be nothing to look at something alone, but it is definitely not normal to look at these things together. I told you when I took you as a friend. You'd better stock up as many materials as possible, plants, medicines, antibiotics and vitamins. Who is the most important with that? Li Fei interrupted the phone, but I couldn't get through again. I thought about Li Fei's words with a dignified expression and finally decided to believe him for once. Anyway, the hoarding is all food, even if you don't use it, you can eat it slowly. Paul asked my sister to turn and rush into the supermarket. After sourcing 2 more carts, I also pushed several shopping carts to the underground parking lot. This is my mother who has been waiting in the underground parking lot for a long time. Seeing us buy so many supplies, my mother's eyes are straight. I asked you to hoard some things without so much time to explain. I quickly called my mother to help put all the materials into the car. Fortunately, my mother's car was a family 7-seat car, but even so, it was packed full. After loading the supplies, my sister and my mother drove home first, while I rode my bicycle to the door of the supermarket and headed home. Our house is a self-built 3-story building. The first floor is rented to Faziaoi's family to open a convenience store, and the second floor is rented to an outsider. Usually, we don't have much contact. When I got to the third floor, they had already cleaned up the house. Just about to rest, Li Fei called again. Her voice seemed to be very anxious. Yang Ji, don't forget to hoard medicines and vitamins, and withdraw some cash by the way. According to the eldest brother in the United States, the typhoon is likely to cause a blackout. With that, before I could speak, I interrupted the phone again. Looking at the full supplies, I was a little ridiculous why I believed him, but in the end I planned to go out and find a pharmacy. I didn't want to stock up a lot of drugs as Li Fei said, but prepared to buy a wave of each simple one. However, with my mother's consent, I took her bank card and prepared to withdraw more cash. After all, mobile phone payments are everywhere now. If there is a power failure, it is more convenient to have cash in hand. Before leaving, my mother asked me to go to her studio to find Aunt Lee to take the key. She said that she might take half a month off for something. When she arrived at the drugstore, the elder sister of the drugstore looked at me questionably. What's the matter today? They all came to stock up medicine. I smiled hey and avoided his problem. At this time, I received a message from Li Fei on my mobile phone. The strange thing is that I can only see half of the content. The information about drugs is all out of order. It is the first time I have met the information on my mobile phone. I didn't think much about it. I can only take as much as possible. Out of the drugstore, I sent a message to Li Fei. You see how much I believe in you. In a word, I bought all my 2,000 yuan into medicine. Strangely, after a long time, Li Fei did not reply to my message. Then, I went to my mother's studio to get the key, but I didn't expect to encounter an elevator failure as soon as I entered the elevator. I was trapped in the elevator with a mother with a child. Soon there was the voice of security guards outside. Don't worry, I'll find the maintenance personnel now. I took out my mobile phone to talk to my mother about the situation here, but I don't know when the mobile phone has lost its signal. I rubbed my head and couldn't help wondering that this afternoon was too unlucky. It didn't take long for the security guard outside to run back. I'm really sorry, due to the typhoon holiday, the maintenance master is rushing over. You guys stay inside and don't move. Listening to the security guard's voice, the woman was obviously a little angry, but she didn't say anything. Before long, it began to rain outside. At 6 o'clock in the evening, the typhoon suddenly landed on the city with a storm, and the sky that was still bright suddenly became dark. Pedestrians who had no time to go home were holding the pole of the street lamp to prevent themselves from being blown away. Suddenly, a piece of iron sheet rolled up by the strong wind smashed towards the elevator. Although it did not smash the tempered glass of the elevator, it scared the women and children to cry. While pacifying the child, the woman shouted to the security guard outside the elevator, "Why hasn't the repairman come yet? Are we going to be trapped in the elevator?" Although the woman shouted loudly, there was no security guard outside. I sat on the ground with my eyes closed and preserved my strength. However, more than 10 minutes later, a dazzling light shone into my eyes. I thought it was the repairman who came. I quickly opened my eyes. At the same time, a woman's voice came from my ear. Why is something so bright in the sky? Hearing this, I tilted my head and looked at it. I saw a dazzling light in the dark night sky. The light will be red and green, rendering the whole city as if it were a ghost city. Seen from a distance, the light looks like a stained glass junction will become a package. This is Aurora. How can Aurora appear in coastal cities? Is the Weather Bureau wrong? The real disaster is not a typhoon, but a solar storm. No wonder there are so many power failures today. I quickly took out my cell phone to check, but there was still no signal on the screen. Solar storms will cause large-scale power failures, that is to say, H city will fall into a power outage for more than a long time. Almost everyone walked out of the room or stopped the car to enjoy the aurora phenomenon that is rare in 10,000 years. As expected, all the cars will never be hit again after they stall. I looked up at the elevator with a dignified look. The blackout caused by the solar storm will definitely not pass in a day or two. I must find a way to escape from the elevator, otherwise when the storm passes, I'm afraid the three of us will already stink. I forced myself to calm down and analyze the situation at hand. My mother knows that I have come to the studio. If I haven't returned, my mother will definitely come to me, and the security guard knew that we were trapped in the elevator. They had already called for rescue. It should not take long. No matter how bad it is, what we are trapped in is a sightseeing elevator. People outside will definitely come to rescue us after seeing us. But for now, the quickest way is to find a way to open the elevator door. To understand this, my nervous mood relaxed a lot for half an hour. After that, we were finally rescued by the repairman. My mother arrived here as early as 20 minutes ago. After seeing me come out and wipe my tears, she came forward and hugged me. I'm fine, you're fine. The aurora caused a blackout in the whole province. Let's go home quickly. Later, after the typhoon comes, the rainstorm will be even greater. On the way home, we passed a convenience store and sourcing a truck full of supplies. Since we also don't know how long solar storms will last, buy more for a rainy day. After returning home, it was already 9 o'clock in the evening. Many migrant workers in the alley were cheering. The solar storm was so good that we could not go to work for a month. At this time of going upstairs, I bought 2 boxes of mineral water at the convenience store of Fa Xiaoyi's house. By the way, I reminded the family of 3 that the solar storm is coming. You should also stock up some supplies. After that, he moved to the water building. As soon as I entered the door, I saw 2 large cans of gas at the door. They should have been sent by my mother when I went out. In addition, the 1 can now is enough for us to use for at least 2 months. On second thought, those who live in high-rise buildings will be miserable. After the power failure, the supply of natural gas should also be stopped. I am afraid that by that time, those people will even have problems eating. At 11 o'clock at night, the sky was still very bright. After eating, I couldn't help but think of the dreamy aurora through the window. It was confirmed that it was a solar storm, but I felt much more relieved. According to what I have learned, solar storms usually last no more than 1.5 months. And the supplies and medicines we hoard are enough for our family of 3 to last 2 months. The only pity is that there will be no electricity, no internet, no games in the following days. At night, the typhoon rumbled with heavy rain, and the rain flooded the entire alley in just a few hours. In the early morning, I lay in bed tossing and turning, still can't sleep. Thinking about what happened all day, I always felt a little uneasy, but I couldn't figure out what the problem was. Until the 5th day after the aurora appeared, most people did not panic because of heavy rain and power outages. Although there is no internet and a lot of entertainment is missing, at least there is no need to go to work to be scolded by the boss. Some welfare units can even get a large salary subsidy after the power outage. What is really affected is those at the bottom of society who work and eat day by day. My family conditions are at a medium level, so I can't appreciate the hard work of the working people at the bottom. All I know is that most of the people who died in the European blackout last year were poor people, and some even said it was a big purge of social garbage. In the past 2 years, a blogger who claimed to be a future person on the internet has posted a prophecy post, the 6th of which refers to the European blackout. He said that year was only a precursor to the end, and many people would freeze to death in a short time. The next year in Article 7 is the real beginning of the end. If the 7th prediction refers to this Asian solar storm, it means that this Asian solar storm will be more severely affected than last year's European solar storm. The title of the prophecy was I'm from Hell, which means that the end of the year will really come. I slapped myself on the forehead, laughing at how I could believe such inexplicable remarks. Although the power has been cut for 5 days, the supermarket outside has been officially required to open. It's just that the price of materials has been rising, but at least it is guaranteed that there will be no crazy rush for materials in a short period of time. In the first 2 days, because there was no cash, everyone poured into the bank to make trouble, which eventually led to the official dispatch of armed forces to suppress it. In those 2 days, the bank would roar from time to time. Eventually one bank couldn't resist the pressure to start handing out cash, but limited each person to 1,000. The era of technology has made people accustomed to mobile payment. No one thinks about how to live without cash after a power outage. Even all walks of life that have left electricity have become waste. Now most people have no cash in their hands. However, the power outage time is still short, and no one will starve to death. As time goes by, there is no way to predict it. The torrential rain for several days caused the house to be extremely humid. Although it was only September, the temperature had dropped a lot. The rain kept flowing into the stairwell along the crack of the door. At this time, we were leaning on the glow of candles to have lunch together, because most of the materials we had stocked before were bread and instant noodles. After several days of torrential rain, my family had no food for a long time. My sister kept complaining that eating soybeans every day would almost turn me into soybeans. For its proposal, we will take advantage of the early blackout to go to the supermarket. This time I'm afraid the longer the blackout lasts, the less we can buy. Assuming that the blackout will last for 2 months, in the case of transportation collapse, it means that the city will not have access to external trade resources. My sister's cell phone was turned off on the 3rd day of the power outage. It was not that the power was dead, but that it was malfunctioning, but before the malfunction, his cell phone still had no signal. Which means the satellite system may have crashed as well. I haven't thought about this problem before, because I have always compared the situation of the blackout in Europe. I have always felt that there are incidents in Europe ahead. The government must be prepared to do better than last year's power outage in Europe. In addition, there are enough materials in the family, so I am not worried at all. But now I suddenly think of the problem of satellite damage. I suddenly look dignified. I remember the power outage in Europe last year, the satellite was not damaged. Assuming that the satellite was really damaged this time, it means that the disaster area is larger than that in Europe last year, and the power outage is greater. Can the plane deliver materials without satellite signals? I am completely unaware of this aspect and can only analyze it indiscriminately. Although we haven't gone out these days, there are still contacts between neighbors. There is no definite news about the size of the disaster area from word of mouth. I still compare the power outage in Europe last year, but assuming that the disaster area is much larger than that in Europe, even if the official response is quick, even on Liang, there will be a lot of delay in time. If the disaster area is very large, can the government handle it in 2 months? What should I do in case the affected area is too large to imagine, and the power outage will last for half a year or even a year? Thinking of this, I suddenly felt cold all over. I knew that my current guess was not just a cranky without evidence, but I couldn't help predicting various possible consequences. The food at home can last for 2 months, but it can't last for half a year. Assuming that if the power outage really lasts for more than half a year, the city's materials will definitely be looted within 2 months if the traffic is paralyzed and external support is not available. One of the important reasons why China was able to quickly return to normal with the pandemic flu was that one party was in trouble and all parties supported it. In contrast, in Europe last year, as various towns were in crisis, they guessed and robbed each other, resulting in countless deaths and injuries. Assuming that the disaster area is so large that it will take half a year to completely end, then the town next door to H will also fall into disaster. Without outside assistance, the city will fall into internal friction. Although all this is my unilateral speculation, I cannot rule out this possibility. I would rather trust my ignorant judgment than surrender my life and that of my family to the rescue of Inc. We have to go out and do some shopping again. Wei Chi looked at me with firm eyes, and for half a day he didn't know what happened in the 10 seconds of eating just now. Where did he know that his small proposal made me think so far? After the meal, I counted all the materials I bought at home and calculated how long I could eat them. As a result, I found myself too naive. It was crazy to eat these things for 2 months. I was reluctant to eat them for 1 month. Because I always thought that the situation should store more instant noodles and bread. But after counting and calculating, I found that these things are not resistant to eating at all. It's just that during the 4 or 5 days of power failure, we have eaten a lot of food, and these things are not enough to eat at all. The critical moment is rice. Otherwise, in this environment, the more hungry you want to eat, it will cause a vicious circle. In addition, the biscuits, ham sausages, and canned food I bought can only be used as snacks. The only useful thing is compressed biscuits. But this thing must be used under special circumstances. If it is really used as a staple food, most people will feel nauseous after eating it for 2 or 3 days. Another thing is that if I eat too much instant noodles, I will vomit. I bought a lot of instant noodles, only to find that I lost half of them in a few days. There are 5 packs in a bag of instant noodles. Even if I buy 10 bags, it is only 50 bags. According to the amount of 2 servings per day for 3 people, they can only eat for 8 days. If they want to eat for 2 months, they need 360 packs for 60 days and 1080 packs for half a year. I'm afraid only crazy people can stock so many instant noodles at home. After thinking about it, I found that the only thing I like best is rice and rice. The cheap, affordable, and full of tricks is pickles. On September 27th, I sorted out the remaining food list, including 40 bottles of mineral water, 6 boxes of yogurt, 15 cans of canned luncheon meat, 5 cans of canned lobster sauce fish, 68 cakes, 68 French buns, about 80 bulk bread, 8 hand-torn bread, 32 packs of instant noodles of various flavors, and 10 packs of sandwich biscuits. The tests include 25 bags of soda biscuits, 6 bags of milk chocolate bars, 1 dozen, half a bottle of chewing gum, 1 bag of potato chips, 1 bag of Alpine strawberry-flavored hard candy, 93 pieces of original coffee, 3 bags of ready-to-eat cereal, 12 bags of corn-flavored compressed biscuits, 1 bag of rice 10.00 kilograms, 1 bag of edible salt, several kitchen condiments and a handful of noodles. We buy a lot more snacks than that, just eat a lot these days. These things are piled together, looking at a large pile, but the real inventory is nothing more than that. I should focus on sourcing rice noodles, pickles and wheat, and also buy some ginger that can dispel cold. The weather is too humid now, and fog beads will appear on the floor every morning. If people do not take precautions in this environment, they will have the risk of reducing resistance and causing diseases. Although there are not many cold granules in the pile of medicine I bought, it is better to drink more ginger tea. After confirming what needs to be sourcing, the 3 of us decided to go out and sourcing together tomorrow. In fact, there is no concept of time now. After a nap, the typhoon was still furious. I wanted to call Wei Chi together, but Aunt Zai-Upping wouldn't let her go out. Despite the torrential rain outside, supermarkets were still open. In fact, we can sourcing for its convenience store, but first, the convenience store is not complete, and second, as a small supermarket, it can play a role when it is really needed. I don't want to do this kind of internal friction. We went out of the door with shopping bags and backpacks. Due to the continuous rain for nearly a week and a huge typhoon outside, there were almost no people on the street. We needed to lean against the wall and move carefully to ensure our safety. Because we had already planned to get wet all over, we basically did not deliberately shelter from the rain, mainly shelter from the wind. Although we can't get information from the outside world, there is still no difficulty in passing letters between neighbors across the road. It is said that because of the rain, many places were flooded, and most of the wells were transferred to firefighting and water saving. The police are not completely uninvolved in the safety issues in the city. Occasionally, they will send people to ride bicycles and use loudspeakers to shuttle through the alleys to remind people to stay at home and not to go out. In addition, there are a lot of armed forces in the bank because there are too many people waiting outside to withdraw cash. But the bank's present. Gold is actually in the bank, and in this case, the cash in the bank cannot be delivered to the relevant outlets in time. In fact, even if they are timely enough, they don't have that much cash to send. This is a dead circle. If it lasts too long, the problem will not be solved and the armed forces will not be able to control so many people who have gone out of their way. I heard that many people died in the hospital because of a sudden power outage. The hospital does have diesel generators, but the power of the generators cannot maintain medical equipment to normal conditions. Besides, solar storms have caused damage to many power equipment, coupled with floods, mudslides and other frequent disasters. The news that there are many dead people in the hospital may be true. In other words, for us, the stable days of blackout playing cards may be equal to the end of the world for some people. Leaving lane 27 is Nanmen West Street. Many shops on the street are closed now. Our destination this time is a half-large shopping mall at the head of Nanmen West Street. My elder sister suddenly pointed to the opposite side of the road and said, "There is a baby stroller there, should we take the car to load things? When we come out this time, I want to sourcing rice. You are very heavy. There is nothing to load at home. If there is a stroller, it should save a lot of effort. We want to get the stroller, we have to cross the middle of the road, but the wind is too strong, once we leave the wall, it will be life-threatening." The rainstorm rattled on the water, and the signboard snapped loudly. We moved to the big trash can, turned the stroller over and pushed it up. Suddenly, my sister saw the scene in the stroller and was scared to scream. The ape also subconsciously retreated. The sudden movement tore off the rope connecting the 3 of us. As soon as the wind blew, The three of us were thrown out until they hit a wall. I grabbed the security window on the wall before I stopped. We were like a rotten leaf under the strong wind, unable to control our bodies. A blistered, whitish, swollen baby appeared under the stroller. There seemed to be no other adult bodies in the vicinity. He was either blown over from a distance or the adult pushing him was also killed. I had long heard that many people did not go home in time due to road traffic obstacles, but I did not expect to show them in front of my eyes in this way. I pulled them up and left there almost running for my life, heading for the mall. Under the signboard of this shopping mall, there is a glass table of about 10 square meters, which can block you. At least 10 people are crowded in this range. These people should be outsiders trapped here by the typhoon. It should be because they can't stay in the hotel without cash, or it may be because the hotel is full and there is no place to live. I glanced at them and escorted my sister and mother into the mall. Before entering the supermarket, we were asked to take off our raincoats and coats because we were wet all over and were looked down upon by the security guards. When shopping for goods, the security guard held a candle and stared behind us all the time. Although it was understandable, it was always a little awkward. We had a clear division of labor and began to sourcing according to the list I had prepared. Pickles were the first choice. I also wanted to stock up these candles, but I was told by the security guard that the candles were limited and each household could only buy 5. In addition, I also bought some paper towels and disinfectant, because after the water in the storage tank is used up, we will have to use rainwater or lake water. I also saw a young couple holding a lot of garbage bags in the shopping mall. I was very surprised. In this case, what can garbage bags be used for? After thinking about it, besides garbage bags can be used to hold garbage, they should also be able to pack items independently, because the air is too humid, the things in the wardrobe are almost moldy. If you put clean clothes in separate packages, you should be able to avoid damp. In addition, rice and food are also easy to damp, especially the rice bags are not completely closed, and water vapor is easy to enter. If you don't want the rice to damp, it is best to take them out and pack them separately and pack them tightly. Thought of here, I also took a lot of rolls of garbage bags, and by the way, I also took very delicate plastic wrap and disposable chopsticks. I always felt that I might be able to use them. In addition, we didn't buy anything else. Many people, like me before, still choose instant noodles and bread. When we passed by the instant noodle area, most of the shelf was empty. We bypassed the temporary purchase of a large amount of noodles, because the 2 bags of 25.00 kilograms rice alone were enough to eat for 2 months, and the rest of the instant noodles in the shopping mall might not be able to eat for so long. The shelves were almost swept away by us. When checking out, the cashier pretty girl laboriously used draft paper to calculate. Because of the convenience of mobile phones, many people have forgotten how to use arithmetic. In addition, one of the biggest drawbacks of such shopping malls is that the cashier does not know the price of the goods at all. Some large items do have a price, and the cashier can say as much as the price does not. But this primitive method of buying and selling has dispelled a lot of the horror just now. My sister and I finally recovered some of his expressions. After putting Xiaojian into his backpack, we walked out of the supermarket with a bag of rice on our back. When you walk out of the mall, there will be a buffer channel. Some goods were placed on the left and right shelves, but now only empty shelves are left. I was walking in this 2 long passage and saw a woman sitting at the door looking inside. I pulled my sister into the middle with a look of vigilance and walked on the side of the woman. The woman hesitated and finally pulled her child to stand up. Sorry, there is really no way out. We passed by here from other places, but we got separated from the child's father. Now we don't even have a place to live. I saw you bought a lot of things just now. I have no other meaning, just can you please lend me a few $100s for the sake of the child? I can bet my ID card and mobile phone on you, please do it for your convenience. The kid hasn't eaten in days. As he spoke, the others sitting at the door were also looking over this way. I noticed that most people sitting at the door had no money. Of course, it was not that they were poor, but that they had no cash on them. So when a woman talks about borrowing money, there are some people who show joy in their eyes. A penny stumps the farmer. This should be the case. In a corner of the city, there are also big bosses with tens of millions of dollars who are starving. Sorry, all our cash is used to buy these things. Hearing this, the woman's face was a little ugly. I continued to be stiff. I won't be here for a few days. I believe someone will come to help you soon. The woman clearly watched us buy so many things, but now she didn't want to give them a little help, and tears fell down. My mobile phone is completely broken, and the bank can't withdraw money. I am really desperate. My child has caught a cold and can't even afford medicine. Looking at this poor woman, my sister's eyes are moist. I also want to help you, but there is nothing we can do. Why don't you ask the store owner for credit? He should be willing to help you. After that, I took them and left. The woman suddenly burst into tears. Please, I really have no other way. If this continues, the child will starve to death in a few days. I coldly looked at the child and the woman who sold miserably in the street. If you pester me again, don't blame me for being welcome. I knew these people weren't good. When I entered the mall, I found that there was a 2 long buffer passage at the entrance of the mall, which was originally used to place goods, but now it is all cleaned up. There are only 2 reasons. The first is that the boss specially cleaned up the stains and garbage left in the passage for these homeless people, which also shows that people did live there. The second is that these people have now been driven out of the door, indicating that they had had conflicts with the store owner and were expelled. After that, I took out the fruit knife in my pocket and crossed it in front of her. The woman saw the knife quickly pulling the child back and watched us leave unwell. After walking out a few meters, my sister looked back unbearable. It was not how sympathetic she was to the woman and child, but the Doomsday scene made her feel very sad. I bounced him and said, "Cry a fart, if we help him, the group of people at the door will not let us out of the supermarket." Sure enough, after we walked some distance along the wall, the voice of the woman's curse came from behind. When I got home, I threw my raincoat into my sister's hand and plunged into the room. The clothes that are soaked through will not dry even if changed. If it keeps raining like this, we'll soon have no clothes to change. After eating, we repackaged the rice. When repackaging, we wrapped the dried chili and anise with paper towels and put them inside, saying they could prevent insects. The 2 bags of rice bought this time are enough for the 3 of us to eat for more than 2 months, but I think it is still not enough, so we have to go out in a few days and buy 2 more cans of gas for later use. And the candles are consumed too fast. It seems that the rainstorm will not stop. After so many days in a row, it is still so fierce. The streets have almost become rivers, rushing down, and the biological clock has been disrupted. Even the days and nights can't be separated. Now the only entertainment is playing cards. In the middle of the night, my sister had a fever. I searched for all the medicines in my family. There was no antiviral cold medicine or antipyretic paste. It seems that although I bought a lot of medicine last time, I forgot the most important cold medicine. Fortunately, my elder sister was only frightened and feverish, and she got better in 2 days, but my heart was in my throat, because I suddenly remembered a news item about the power outage in Europe last year. It is said that most of the cases of illness and death are caused by colds and diarrhea. Cold can be cured, but flu can hardly be cured, because the flu is a viral cold. But this time I dare not let my sister and my mother go out together, because it has been raining for many days, and I dare not guarantee whether there are unintentional gangsters outside or rotten bodies suddenly appear like last time. On October 3, 2023, the 11th day of the heavy rain and power outage, the rain seemed not to stop. On the 9th day, I wanted to go out to buy medicine, but the government suddenly arranged a lot of armed personnel to maintain order and asked everyone to ban going out, saying that there would be a bigger super typhoon and rainstorm in the next 2 days. With official meddling, there is much less chaos on the streets. According to the official staff in the street, almost all the police and army have been arranged to go downstream for disaster relief, and the downstream floods have caused many deaths. However, he did not know the specific scope of the impact of the solar storm. He just heard from the leaders above that although it was serious, it had not yet reached an uncontrollable situation. This is the best news so far. It seems that the government has not given up on us. However, it has been half a month since the power and water were cut off. Many families who have not prepared materials have already encountered difficulties. They cannot live without natural gas, cannot light without candles, have no food, and even have extravagant hopes of eating. Many people don't understand what the situation means, believe it, if you now trapped in your home with enough food to survive for a few days. Weichi told me that many people had no food. Every day, people took all kinds of things to the convenience store in exchange for food. I persuaded Enzi to close the convenience store and stop selling it. I always thought the disaster would last a long time, but she wouldn't listen. Weichi did hide the convenience store. It can be tolerated if you can't drink hot water, but few people can insist on not eating hot food for more than 10 days. The tenant downstairs offered 20 yuan to Wiki's house for a cup of hot water. Since the power outage, many strange things have happened, especially most people automatically ignore the existence of time. The popularity of mobile phones makes almost no one wear machinery, which is manifested in the scrapping of mobile phones, alarm clocks, and smartwatch. The people in the disaster area have passed. There are no days, no morning, no night, no sun, no night, only gloomy skies and non-stop rainstorms. The saddest thing is that women can bear it without hot water to wash their hair and bathe, followed by hygiene during the physiological period. Underwear will go moldy the next day after washing and cannot be worn at all. I heard neighbors say that there was a child next door who had a serious cold and diarrhea. The child's father ventured out to buy medicine, but it didn't work at all. In the end, the family risked their lives to be sent to the hospital, but now too many people died in the hospital, there were corpses everywhere, no one paid any attention to him, and finally the child died in his father's arms. What is even more embarrassing is that the city sewers were flooded, the city sewage system was completely paralyzed, and the entire city began to stink. The toilet has long been out of use, and everyone can only choose to solve it in the wild. Once people are free, they will become very gossip. I used to refuse gossip, but now it sounds really sweet. The family situation in the neighborhood, which I never cared about before, has been explained clearly by my mother these days. But people can also become irritable when they are idle. Slowly, the food of the neighbors also ran out, and most people began to buy food at Weiqi's house. I persuaded them many times not to sell again, but they didn't listen at all. Over time, all the cash in people's hands will be spent, and then no money can buy food. Continuous heavy rains have led to insufficient police force and paralyzed traffic. What will the city look like on the 12th day? When I was sleeping, I was suddenly awakened by a strong dazzling light. I instinctively thought it was a call. After waking up my elder sister and them, I ran to the window to look out and looked at the source of the light. I suddenly felt lost. It was not a call, but a moving beam of light appeared in the rainstorm. I suddenly woke up. This should have been sent by the government to send a message to the public. When I was about to go and have a look, I was stopped by us. What if the generator of which supermarket made it now? The less we go out, the safer we are. But my mother stopped me. I put on my raincoat and took my backpack. Don't worry, Mom, I'll let go with me. If it's a supermarket, I'll buy some more supplies. My sister also wants to be stopped by me. At this time, we should reduce the loss of clothes. While we were arguing, a horn suddenly sounded at the light source. Please ask the resident's flat ID card to receive relief food. Residents are requested to receive relief food with their identity cards. My sister hurriedly ran to the window and opened the window to hear more clearly. The moment the window opened, a gust of wind rolled up and almost overturned him to the ground. After closing the window, my sister said happily that there was relief food, which meant that the streets were cleared. Hurry up, it seems that traffic should also be restored. Hearing this, I looked dignified. Not necessarily. If traffic resumes, officials should pick up people as soon as possible, instead of just sending some supplies in. That at least shows that the government has been working hard. At this rate, we will not be trapped for half a year. When I came downstairs, the street was already crowded with people, all attracted by the sound of horns, and the sound of neighbors even overwhelmed the sound of rain. The government has sent the supplies. Hurry up and get them. I have starved to death these days and finally have no responsibility. In the convenience store on the first floor, after the sea is not complete, we are going to inquire about the current situation together. As soon as I went out, I heard Chen Bei's voice across the street. Although this woman is beautiful, she usually speaks very bitterly. We have hardly contacted her to ask you to get relief food. Can you take it for me? Before we agreed, Chen Bei had already taken out 3 ID cards. Hearing this, I went back directly. Who knows what the relief food is? The whole street was flooded and the typhoon was so big. If the official issue is a mystery, how can we carry so much? I didn't expect Chen Bei's words to go even further. Aren't there 3 of you? I can't carry these bags of rice. Wei Qi has a thin face and is embarrassed to reply to him. We all turned our faces aside and pretended that the rain was too loud to hear. Chen Bei stamped his feet with anger. You are too boring. I am a girl who doesn't even have rain clothes. How can I go out in this weather? Although we didn't take a reason to her again, Yu Shifen, who passed by, didn't feel embarrassed to refuse. Out of the street, the typhoon is so big that it can almost blow people away. As more and more people came out, many familiar people naturally got together. Fortunately, the location of the distribution of materials is not far away, and when we arrived, it was already a sea of people. When waiting in line, someone asked the person who distributed relief food about the disaster, because he had a horn in his hand. Even if we were in the back, we could hear it clearly. It turns out that this solar storm is much larger than last year's European blackout. At present, 9 provinces across the country have experienced heavy rains and power outages, and the remaining provinces without power outages are supporting the affected provinces at all costs. Since we are a coastal city, according to the current situation, the best result will take 2 months to recover. In the following days, relief supplies were distributed every day, and rescue workers kept calling with loudspeakers. Those who had food at home gave the opportunity to those who exercised. There are red and white lights on the car. White is the normal one-time supply, while red is the second one. This situation continued until 15 days after the blackout, and the official rescue team sent emergency supplies. As time went on, more and more people were receiving supplies in the square. The crowd blown by the storm swayed from side to side. Neighbors gathered together to discuss life after the disaster. Do you have any food at home? It's long gone. There's no water or electricity. I've been hungry for 2 days. The village chief in classical Chinese said proudly, I have water. I connect the water pipe of the pond to the water purifier. Who has plenty, but you have to exchange food. The village chief said that someone immediately refuted that the supermarket was not closed yet. Why should we go to your place to change water? Do you have the money to go shopping in the supermarket now? As soon as the man finished speaking, he was told by the village chief that he had nothing to say. If it weren't for the fact that the mobile phone couldn't be used, I wouldn't be able to take out hundreds of dollars. The crowd suddenly shouted, don't you know if you have no money, you can go to the bank to apply for currency purchase. It turned out that after the solar storm, the bank's internal equipment was completely damaged. In order to temporarily maintain social stability, a set of purchasing currency was specially issued. Each ID card can go to the bank to receive 300 yuan worth of purchasing currency and go to the designated supermarket for consumption. After the disaster is over, the bank will redeem the purchasing currency from the supermarket. I have to say that the bank experts really did not eat for nothing. In this way, society will not lose control in a short period of time. The so-called relief food is just a bag of biscuits, a bottle of 8 treasure porridge and a bottle of mineral water. After receiving the relief food, Wei Qi and I walked back. Due to the information of the blackout, everyone relaxed a lot when they went back. Some even talked and laughed all the way, and things were developing in a good place. It looks like this blackout will be back to normal in 2 months, like last year's European blackout. Although there will be some sacrifice and death, most people will survive. Several adults discussed going to a nearby bank to apply for a purchasing agent. After all, rescue workers said that the power outage lasted for at least 2 months, and hundreds of cash at home was always insurance. When Wei Qi and I were walking through a lane entrance, a gust of wind suddenly blew and lifted us up instantly. Before losing the last gravity, I grabbed Wei Qi's clothes, and the two were swept by the wind and smoke on the ground at the same time. For a moment I not seeing nothing but the whirlpool and the scream of Wiki that flashed in my ear. Waiting for the gust to pass, we were hammered into another street, where dirty yellow water flowed in the middle, at least 10 centimeters deep, and the street had completely turned into a river. In the distance, Zhang Runzhen, the son of the village chief, grabbed the street lamp close to the intersection of the Dehi Road. Even if the rapid river on the pole was very shallow, it was difficult for me to stand up. If I was not careful, I would be rushed into the Dehi Road, let alone stand up. I don't know where I was finally rushed. I grabbed the trash can with one hand and Wei Qi with the other. I carefully moved to the edge of the current. After I stood firm, there was no danger. However, Zhang Run did not have such good luck. His position was close to the river. To put it bluntly, as long as he let go a little, people would be washed away instantly. In order to resist this huge impact, his face was distorted and white, the wind was very strong, and the rain was also very heavy. I followed the corner close to Jongrun and saw her try very hard to save herself. Suddenly, a vicious force rose in my heart. This guy didn't flirt with my sister less before. It would be a scourge to let her live sooner or later. I lifted one foot and stepped on Jongrun's white hands and rubbed them hard. At this moment, Jongrun has been scared silly. What are you doing? You're guilty of capital murder. I didn't speak, staring at Jongrun, stepping even harder. Wei Qi looked at me in surprise, but the words to stop it came to her throat but she didn't say it. Jongrun panicked. No, I know I was wrong, I dare not again, please let me go, I promise not to say Liang Wenjing's name in the future. Jongrun's hand had been trampled by me and bled. He slipped out in defeat, leaving only the other hand firmly holding the street lamp pole. His whole body was fluttered by the impact of the huge current. Jongrun kept shouting for help and suddenly shouted for him that someone was coming. I quickly withdrew my feet to make the appearance of saving people. Then a strong force pulled Jongrun out of the water. When he was glad that he was still alive, he found his father and neighbor Yu Shifeng standing around. Jongrun knew that he could still live. Failure was given by these people, otherwise I would definitely do it to him. He looked at me secretly, thinking about how to revenge, but I suddenly looked at it as if I had noticed it. Zhang was scared and almost fell into the river again. Wei Qi and I were blown away by the huge wind just now. Fortunately, everyone was safe and sound. But there are also unfortunate people. The strong wind blew a piece of iron sheet and cut off the heads of a couple walking in front. The blood instantly stained the dirty flood on the ground. The newly relaxed mood sank to the bottom again. There were some corpses lying in almost the corners of the street. In the past, any serious car accident would be discussed for half a day, but now the corpses are lying on the street at will. Has this city become a purgatory on earth? Several people were about to separate when they suddenly heard a very tragic cry from a woman. The moon was a bee and moved quickly. Before anyone else could react, they had already rushed out. The village chief wanted to leave, but because of face, he had to stomp his heels up. Wei and I stood in the distance, staring at Zhang Run coldly. Zhang Run was afraid that I would shoot him again and ran away. When we got back to the door of the house, several beautiful women gathered in front of the convenience store. It was Xiao Zhao and his accompanying women who had received relief food with us in the morning. In the morning, he went out with so many beautiful women in one breath, causing many envious and jealous eyes. When we arrived, 5 or 6 people happily left with a pile of ice cream. After they left, Aunt Xiaoping saw that she was wet and came back. We quickly pulled Wiki into the door. When I got home, I quickly changed into clean clothes, drank another cup of cold powder, and quickly took a hot bath. I felt that the cold all over my body was liberated from the hot water, and then I breathed a sigh of relief. Since the power failure, it has rained for half a year. The house is so wet that it is almost uninhabited. Even the bedboard and window edge have grown mildew. Otherwise, they are worried that they will get patients if they are accidentally put into their stomachs. In this extremely humid condition, the body becomes very bulky and has a feeling of water. I don't know when the rain will stop. I forgot to ask when I went out to get food today. Coastal cities have never rained so long day and night. Why is this rain so strange? Will solar storms still affect the rain? I always feel that there is something wrong, but I can't say. After taking a bath, my mother had already cooked the meal, because it was always dark and she didn't know the specific time, so she didn't know whether it was lunch or dinner. In short, everyone cooks when they are hungry. We usually only cook twice a day. For the first meal, a pressure cooker is used to cook a big pot of rice. A triangular shelf is set up inside. Then some noodles made of canned pickles and fish or soaked in cold water are wrapped in tin foil. The rice is steamed on the shelf. After cooking, the dishes are taken out of the pot together. The taste is very beautiful. For the second meal, wrap it in tin foil like a cold rice cooker and heat it in hot water. The tin foil will be cleaner and the water can be drunk. If you don't drink it, you can take a bath. Our family now has plenty of materials, but only instant noodles, rice, and pickles can be eaten, so there is a feeling that there are many things but nothing to eat. Bread is no longer used as a snack, but as a material. Although my elder sister is greedy, she can't eat and play like she did at the beginning. In addition to staring at boiling water and sighing in a daze, she uses draft paper to size up her daily activities at home, and seems to have written a blackout diary. At first, the power outage led to a holiday. She was very excited. She played cards and go bang with Wei Qi every day. The neighbors below were also excited. They gathered together for mahjong and gossip every day, but the power outage was less than a week, and these people were not interested. Boredom, and anxiety fill everyone's heart. They begin to yearn for video games, mobile phones and TV dramas, but longing is useless, because everyone knows that even if there is a TV set in front of them now, it will lose its freshness in 3 days, and people can't be idle. It turns out that this is the reality. After half a month of work stoppage, some people began to hope to resume work. After dinner, Yu Shifeng came back with the news. According to them, the police station has been busy for days now. They went to report the case to those who died on the street, but no one answered at all. After a trip to the bank, now everyone can only apply for one purchasing currency, and the procedures are very complicated and the audit is very strict. Anyone with any bad credit record cannot apply. The people waiting in line to collect the money surrounded the area for several hundred meters, and even the typhoon could not blow in. Don't talk about them, my sister and my mother. He learned that the power outage area is also very relieved. Compared with one's own guess, it would be much safer and more reliable to know the exact information from the mouth of the relevant personnel. As long as there's room for things to get better, there's nothing to be afraid. Although the typhoon blew oddly, solar storms appeared. What's strange about typhoons due to power outages and no recreational activities, the neighbors resumed their good work and rest time, and most of the time the streets could not hear any noise except the rain. Although occasionally screams are particularly harsh in this quiet city, no one usually pays attention, and only hears various versions of rumors from various people the next day. According to neighbors, several children nearby experienced employee to have a fever because the hospital clinic did not accept people and did not open the door. Some people directly smashed the shutter door of the health station. In the process of the two groups, the children were killed on the spot. Eventually the shopping escalated, resulting in 3 people being killed on the spot. Later, the health station was robbed and the medicine inside was washed empty. The bodies of the 2 people in the health station are still lying inside. It is said that the daughter and grandson happened to go to other places and were stranded by the power outage. Perhaps by the time he knows the sad news, the bodies of the 12 people will be rotten to the death. While eating, my sister was lying on her desk writing a novel on draft paper. I quietly stretched my head to peek. October 11, 2023, the 20th day of heavy rain and power outage. Last night, lava seemed to be seen. Does the goddess have to solve her physiological problems? This is really an embarrassing and realistic thing. After dinner, hearing my voice, my sister subconsciously covered her diary. Today's meal is very rich, white rice with moldy tofu and tinfoil baked ham. After eating, I lay in the warm quilt. I pulled out the sharp knife. The body of the knife reflected the silver cold light in the dark room. I touched it gently with my finger. The cold touch made my fingers tremble, and then I tried to lick it with my tongue. It doesn't smell much. Every day outside the window is endless storms. I feel that there is a sea in the sky that keeps leaking down. I don't know where so much water comes from. The last time I received relief food was 8 days ago. The rescue workers on the grain truck said that the light changed to red, and citizens could receive a second copy with their ID cards. However, after the relief food was distributed for 3 days, the rescue team disappeared. Together with the lamp symbolizing light and hope, it disappeared forever in the endless darkness. And the beam car suddenly disappeared. Does it mean that the government has been unable to control the disaster, or is it that the follow-up supply cannot keep up, or is there a major error in a certain session? An invisible sense of conspiracy rose from my heart. Theoretically speaking, since the European solar storm last year, it is impossible for various countries to pay attention to the solar storm without prediction and preparation. The formation of solar storms does not seem to happen in an instant. Assuming that the official observation is made, why not inform the public in advance to prepare for prevention? I am not a professional and can't tell which one is more likely, but there must be something wrong with this solar storm. Maybe I should make more preparations. I came downstairs and asked Wei Chi's house if he would like to go out to sourcing with me, but Aunt Xiaoping said that our house opened a convenience store and there was nothing to sourcing. After that, I looked at my mother and took a stern tone. Why do you let these children try blindly all day? You have already bought so many things. Why spend that money and buy some things at home? My mother smiled and said calmly that she was more than half an adult and should have some thoughts of her own. My elder sister snorted gently, which is not a blind try. This is called preparing for a rainy day. It is better than panicking at the end. Fortunately, when we discussed, you eater B also came. In the end, I went out with Wei Chi and Yu Shifeng to the supermarket last time to sourcing goods. It was stormy all the way, but fortunately there was no danger. After buying the food, I also went to the drugstore and bought a little antiviral cold medicine. There is really only a little, because the current cold medicine Ping and branch is considered to be Yu Shifeng. The family does not have any extra medicines, and he does not have any extra money, so I lent him 500 without him paying it back. However, on one condition, Yu Hive has to teach me some practical masturbation skills, because Yu Hive originally opened a boxing hall and has been working as a special security guard since he came to age. I want to learn some hands-on skills, just in case, because when we went out to buy things, sourcing attracted the attention of our neighbors, our actions led to our neighbors, and many people began to sourcing things. The old Chen family on the second floor had no cash. They wanted to borrow Wei Fatty's shell, but Aunt Xiaoping did not agree, so his wife came to borrow it from my mother. I still remember hearing a knock at the door outside that morning. Through the crack of the door, I saw an old Chen with a face of bridge. My wife borrowed 500 yuan from my mother, and my mother borrowed 500 yuan to him, but asked him not to say it. He left. Thank you very much. Borrowing money is naturally not out of sympathy. In a sense, the online door is a grasshopper on the same rope. If the old Chen family is too hungry to even eat, it will be a great trouble for my family. In addition to cold medicine, I also bought some antibiotics, 4 or 5 bottles of cleaning agent for women, and the underpants of women. Continuous rain led to worry on the third day as long as things passed the water, so this time I bought 100 sets of sex underwear in the supermarket, and my aunt also stocked up a lot of towels. These are not things I didn't consider at first. Fortunately, the mall is open, otherwise this is a big problem. After dinner, I did not participate in Liang Wenjing's entertainment activities, but went to Yu Shifeng's house with Wei Yuqi to practice piano. There are many things that are good at Yu Shifeng. The reason why I chose to capture is after careful consideration. If we have physical conflicts with anyone, my purpose is to leave from the weapons in the hands of the other party. As long as we can quickly leave from the other party's weapons and equipment, we can reduce the danger. The grappling exercises don't need to be complicated. On the 20th day of the blackout, the city finally ushered in the first riot. When Wei Chi and I were practicing dancing with Yu Shifeng's daughter went to my sister with darts. As soon as she left, there was a woman's noise downstairs. It was only after eating your ice cream that she became like this. Losing money or food is up to you. Wei Qi and I hurriedly went downstairs to the convenience store. It was Xiao Zhao who bought ice cream before. Several people stood by and listened to a few words. I understood what was going on. It was nothing more than no money and no food. I wanted to blackmail the convenience store. Food. And Jian Xiaoping did not agree, so they rushed into the store to do odd things everywhere, smashing them while secretly stuffing food into their clothes. The more windy, the man wanted to go up and help, but several women brought by Xiao Zhao stuck their chests and blocked them at the door. I quietly slipped into the convenience store through the stairwell door. Before long, several people were driven out by me with my fruit knife. When they left, 3 of the women were full of clothes. Although they didn't get any money this time, they at least took some food. I stared at the back of their departure, and couldn't help worrying that they would definitely come again after the food was finished. After thanking Yu Shifeng, I helped Vicky clean up the convenience store again. The power went out for 20 days, in addition to the things hidden for his parents, snack bread has long been sold almost. And Xiaoping cried out in tears to call the police, but Wei Qi's father stopped her. The blackout has been going on for 20 days, and the binding force of the law is gradually declining. Besides, the police stations have gone to disaster relief and there is no time for law and order. When I left, I told Vicky that those people would definitely not give up. To be on the safe side, I advised him to transfer the supplies from home to my home. What worries me most is that they will come with weapons in the end of the day. After these people lose the restriction of the law, I am afraid they can do anything. After Vicky agreed, it took us 2 hours to move all the materials hidden by ant embroidery to my house. After she had locked the gate with her backhand, my mother came out of the kitchen with her meal. In this case, it is really great to eat hot rice. Although the government has been maintaining the order of disaster relief, chaos is still happening in some areas. Today it is a convenience store, and tomorrow it may be a supermarket. In order to survive, people will sooner or later lose their restraint and reveal their own nature, and the only way to survive is to plunder other people's materials. 2 days ago, Yu Shifeng and I wanted to buy 2 cans of gas, but when we arrived at the market, we found that the whole market had long been flooded. If this rainstorm continues, we will be completely submerged like the market in less than half a month. There was a big power outage on one side and a heavy rain on the other. I dare not think further. The most dangerous thing in a disaster is a beautiful woman. When I sleep these days, I always hear women's screams from time to time. In this case, outsiders can't get in, so the probability is that all acquaintances commit crimes. If you are secretly loved by your neighbor, you really have to be careful. This is also why I want to kill Zhang Run. He has always had abnormal thoughts about me and my sister. Another time, I heard the sound of an explosion. Although it was raining heavily, the fire in the house was still fierce. There was no ambulance or fire truck. In the end, all the 4 people trapped in the house were burned to death, even the surrounding neighbors were smoked to death. 2 neighbors pooled some money and asked the property to take the body to the police station. However, there are rumors that the property threw the body in a big puddle when it went out. Since then, the pit has become near the surrounding mass graves. As long as someone dies, they will be thrown into it, as if the living have reached a certain consensus. On the 22nd day of the blackout, heavy rain and strong winds continued to fall. In my sleep, I heard Wei Qi's shouts. I quickly got up, picked up a knife and rushed to the convenience store downstairs. What worries me most is still happening. Xiao Zhao took 4 men this time, and 3 women were confronting Wei Qi's father with axes. And Wei Qi had already been pressed on the ground by 2 men, 2 women, and 4 people. Last time it was a porcelain touch, this time it became a robbery. I took out my knife and waved it at the few people who held it down. After several people forced back, I said coldly, "Take the things with you, but don't hurt others." However, judging from their appearance, they do not intend to hurt others. Hearing what I said, I turned and searched the shelf. When I got up to deal with the wound, I kept wink at me and motioned me to move rescuers. I ignored him. At this time, the hospital has fallen. In case someone is injured during the dispute, it can only be a dead end. Even if they win this group of people, there is no guarantee that they will not come back again. He snorted angrily and turned his head to ignore me. 7 or 8 people searched the convenience store for half a day and only found 200 yuan in cash and a pile of snacks. We had already transferred the materials of the convenience store to my home. These things were deliberately left by Wei Qi in order to confuse them. Seeing several people search and appear, Jin Wiki's father Wei Fatzi instantly possessed the actor. "This is the only money in our family. You have taken all of it. How can we survive?" Xiao Zhao, the leader, looked at Wei Fatty man sarcastically. "It's none of our business if you live or die. Aren't you arrogant?" Wei Fatty and pretended to ask them a few words. Suddenly Xiao Zhao pointed to the gift with an axe. There must be something in it. Hearing this, several people all looked at the small door hidden behind Huo's house. Wei Fatty blocked in a panic, mouth said, "There is nothing, is my wife in it?" Seeing this, Xiao Zhao scolded angrily and lost his way. The wielding axe instantly cut Wei Fatty's skin. Wei Qi shouted for a lifetime and quickly stepped forward to hold Wei Fatty. Wei Fatty was afraid of blood and almost fainted when he saw his wound. I rushed to the front and looked at Xiao Zhao. Several people stayed in a line. "Don't you understand the truth?" Xiao Zhao looked at me with satisfaction. "What are you?" When we were confronting each other, Aunt Xiaoping heard the noise and came out from the gift. She saw Fat Wei lying on the ground. Aunt Xiaoping rushed to Xiao Zhao desperately, shouting, I'll fight with you." I hugged Aunt Xiaoping with my eyes and hands, and the scene suddenly became chaotic. The woman who touched porcelain last time suddenly rushed forward and slapped Aunt Upping's face severely. This slap hit Aunt Upping's mouth with blood. Seeing that the woman's second slap was about to fall on Aunt Upping's face again, I freed a hand to stop her. Aunt Upping, who lost my block, rushed out, holding Xiao Zhao's hair. I tore it up. When I wanted to pull Aunt Upping back, I heard the woman who touched the porcelain before shouting coldly at Aunt Upping with a kitchen knife, "Go to hell." Such a chaotic scene. I didn't have time to think much, pulled out the knife, used the moves taught me by Yu Shifeng, blocked, snatched the opponent's weapon, pulled out the knife, stabbed the opponent's heart with the help of the rotating power of the body, and the whole action was done in one go, never a trace of procrastination. I had long thought that to deal with this group of people, either completely deter or kill them all. The woman clutched her chest and sat on the ground 7 or 8 steps backwards. Everyone in the room was quiet and looked at me with wide-eyed disbelief. After more than 10 seconds, Xiao Zhao reacted and rushed towards me with an axe. I grabbed his hair and put the knife that had just killed his companion on his neck. His eyes swept over the people Xiao Zhao brought with cold eyes, turned his head and slowly said to Xiao Zhao, "Do you know what it's like to have your throat slit?" At the moment, Xiao Zhao was so scared that he twitched all over and his axe fell to the ground. I went on to say in a cold tone, "I heard that blood can be ejected 1 m high. Do you think it is true?" The fear deep into the bone marrow made Xiao Zhao speechless and could only make a whining cry. Then I was really scared to urinate. He was scared out of his wits. I didn't kill him, I kicked him to the ground. "Leave the weapons behind, take the food you found, and get the hell out of here." After the group left, Aunt Upping slumped on the ground. Although Fat Wei shed a lot of blood, the wound was fine. Fortunately, I had stocked up drugs in this field before, and it was all right after a simple dressing. For one of them, he hugged me and said in tears, "Lao Liang, thank you, but if you killed someone, will the police take you away?" I patted him on the smell of surrender. "It's okay. They are robbing. I am self-defense. Tomorrow I will turn myself into the police station to show that." Aunt Upping came forward and hugged her and kept crying, "Why did this happen and what evil have we done?" After packing up the convenience store, I lay on the wet bed, thinking about how to explain when I went to the police station tomorrow. After 22 days of power outage, many people had no food, and the vehicles officially distributing supplies stopped coming. The situation here is definitely not the first one in the whole city. Riots have already occurred in other areas. Besides, most of the people in the police station have gone downstream for disaster relief. Maybe the police department simply doesn't have the ability to maintain basic law and order now. The storm outside the window, what seemed to be more intense rain, after falling along the eaves, flows into the river formed by the street. I slept deeply that night without being disturbed by outside sounds. When I opened my eyes, my mother had already cooked the meal. My mother knew that I was going to the police station to turn myself in today, so this meal was much richer than before. Before going out after dinner, my mother kept explaining that many places must be flooded now. You must be careful on the road and never touch the telephone pole. My sister took out a small bag she had reformed and gave it to me, telling me that there were band-aids, cold medicine, headache medicine, a bottle of disinfectant alcohol, compressed biscuits, mineral water, and some food in it, and everything was tightly wrapped in plastic wrap. Not afraid of water, if you are accidentally trapped somewhere, you can last at least 2 or 3 days. With my backpack on, I went downstairs and walked to Wei Qi's house. Wei Qi, Wei Fat Man and Yu Shifeng had been waiting for me at the convenience store for a long time. Yu Shifeng only learned about my murder in the morning. He was especially guilty that he didn't hear what happened in the convenience store yesterday, so he decided to accompany Wei Fat with me and Wei Qi to the police station to turn himself in. In this way, the 4 walked towards the police station in the face of the storm. I saw more people along the way than before, but I thought the same. Many people are on the verge of collapse for food. Not everyone has made plans for a rainy day like me. More people think of hoarding food only a few days after the official release of relief food. When they go out to buy things, they find that there is not enough cash. Supermarket goods are almost sold short. Small supermarkets on the street, convenience stores are all closed now, and the disaster is moving in an uncontrollable direction. When I walked to the corner of the street, I suddenly stopped. Wei Qi turned to look at what was wrong with me. I pointed solemnly at the door of the small supermarket in front of me. The shutter door that should have been closed was artificially smashed into a big hole. There were 4 or 5 bodies lying on the ground, proving that there had been riots here. The rain carried blood into the river of the main engine, and the 4 of us felt extremely heavy. The disappearance of officials, the robbery of convenience stores, and the bodies lying on the ground now all tell us that the end may really have come. After walking for a few minutes, a shout suddenly came from the dim alley by the side of the road. Hearing the sound, Yu was subconsciously trying to rush into the alley, but was stopped by the fat chair for the reason that he should not mind his own business. The alleys are narrow and easy to hide people. Once someone plots, it is too late to escape. When I arrived at the police station, hundreds of people were surrounded inside and outside the police station, and most of the police officers were transferred to disaster relief. Only a few police officers who stayed behind were trying to maintain order at the scene, so there was no time to take a reason to surrender. We consciously found a record, filled it out, and we left the police station without even talking to the police officer on duty. After leaving the police station, we are going to go to a large shopping mall nearby to see if we can pick up some missing goods. On the way, we met several pharmacies that were still open and passed yesterday. Yesterday, I found out that there was no medicine for trauma at home, so I rushed in and asked if there was any trauma to sell. I thought that the food delivery truck had come in before and the medicine should not be too expensive, but the salesman's quotation directly stunned me. Usually a few dollars a bottle of smear medicine, now it costs hundreds of dollars. Afraid of being targeted, hurriedly bought a bottle, We quickly left the drugstore. However, as soon as she left the pharmacy, Yu Shifeng found out that we were being followed. Seeing this, we unconsciously accelerated our pace and ran 2 or 3 streets in a row before we got rid of the stalking people. Wei Fatty gasped and said that he didn't expect it to be so dangerous outside now. It seems that we should be more careful when going out in the future. If the power is not restored, I am afraid that the whole city will soon become an irregular state. Moreover, since the power outage, we have never seen an aircraft transporting materials. Perhaps the typhoon is too big and other reasons have caused the aircraft to be unable to participate. Rescue, we must plan for a longer-term power outage. Hearing this, Yu Shifeng also nodded, saying that he would reserve more materials. After discussing it, we began to search for nearby shopping malls and pharmacies that were still open. It wasn't long before we found a large shopping mall that was still open a few kilometers away, but there was very little left in it. Yu Shifeng and Wei Fatty don't have much cash, so they can only buy some small things. There is no shortage of staple foods in my house, so most of what I buy are bottles and jars of condiments and cans. After leaving the mall, Yu Shifeng reminded him to keep going. There was a drugstore. He once noticed it when driving past there. However, to get to the drugstore, he needed to pass a small bridge. The wind and rain on the bridge were extremely heavy. The rain had flooded the steps and the whole area became a lake. Most of the houses built in this area are only 2 or 3 floors. At a glance, at least a dozen houses are covered with people lying on the roofs. The current below is turbulent. Once they fall, they will be washed away instantly. Some of them don't even have umbrellas and can only use buckets and bags to keep out the rain. And there was a rubber dinghy floating on the water, with 4 or 5 people responsible for rescuing them. When Yu Shifeng saw this, he rushed to save people without saying anything. Even if the 3 of us tried our best to stop him, we couldn't stop him. We don't win the city's swimming champion like Yu Shifeng, so we can only find a place to take shelter from the rain and wait for him slowly. We deserve to be swimming champions. Before long, Yu Shifeng rescued a family of 3 in the latest house, and then went to meet with rescuers to rescue other victims. I looked at the rushing water and guessed that the water must have suddenly rushed down, otherwise so many people would not be trapped on the roof at once. The high probability is that the sluice is broken somewhere upstream, and I don't know when this damn solar storm will end. Fat Wei looked at the trapped children on the roof, and his heart suddenly felt resentment. These children were only a few years old. Why should they suffer such natural disasters? Even if they were rescued, they would be homeless in the future. Thinking of this, he suddenly took out 2 ropes from his backpack, then rushed to the water's edge, and shouted to Yu Shifeng, who was about to run out of strength, "Tie the ropes to them quickly," and I pulled them over. Hearing Wei Fatty's cry, Yu Xiaofeng was overjoyed in his heart. It was already late at night when the rescue was over. The lunar eclipse wind, Fat Wei, and the rescuers all collapsed to the ground. At this time, the rescued people came forward and asked the rescuers what they should do. The leader of my team said, "Just find a place to take shelter from the rain and come back when the rain stops and the flood subsides." The rescued victims may have been too frightened, and continued with a complaining tone, "The rain has been raining for almost a month, when will it stop?" The rescue captain obviously encountered such inquiries frequently, so he was not used to them at all. The man replied, "How do we know when to stop? I'm not with the weather bureau." Hearing what the captain said, the man who asked said angrily, "What is your tone? Is this how you serve the people? That's how I talk. If you don't like it, go back to the roof." The man was not the captain of the team with a cold snort, "Don't face. Now the rescuers can't ask anything here, and the rescued people have all dispersed." At this moment, suddenly a girl's voice was shouting. I looked back. It was a mother and daughter standing not far away. The girl was next to my junior high school classmate Xie Wen. No accident, it should be Xie Wen's mother. After seeing the rescuers, Xie Wen's mother hurriedly stepped forward and asked several people if they had seen a middle-aged man in a blue coat. After getting a negative answer from the rescuers, the mother and daughter cried bitterly. The middle-aged man is Xie Wen's father. In order to save his mother and daughter, he was washed away by the flood not long ago. Seeing this, he asked the two if they had a place to stay. As soon as he opened his mouth, he knew he had said something wrong. Because he heard Xie Wen say that if their family had just moved to the city, there would be no place to stay at this time. I couldn't bear it and wanted to say anything, but I stopped it at once. Although we have surplus food, it is obviously unwise to suddenly raise 2 more strangers. After a simple farewell, we left here. After we left, the leader of the rescue team collected a few 10 yuan and gave it to the mother and daughter, and quickly headed to the next disaster site. The dark night is like the big mouth of a blood basin, as if to swallow man into the darkness and merge with him. I walked through the stacked scattered houses, heavy rain hit me, more and more cold. Seeing that I walked so calmly, I breathed a sigh of relief for it and caught up. When I got home, it was close to dawn. I said that Aunt Xiaoping was a calm person like Guangdong and Fujian, and she was also anxious like Aunt Financial on a hot pot, for fear that the few of us would encounter any accidents when we went out. My mother was most worried about whether my crime was not qualitative and was delayed in the police station. As a result, we didn't know until we came back that it was delayed due to saving people. Aunt Xiaoping cried on the spot that she didn't know anything. When she came back, she worried us for so long. Fat Wei was sweating profusely relieved. "You men should have the ugliest face at the scene." His eyes seemed to be able to kill people. "He has killed Yu Shifeng more than 100 times since just now." Sure enough, after the two returned home, you men grabbed Dad Yu Shifeng and trained for a long time before I came to the large store I visited yesterday, 25th days after the power failure. Like last time, I did not buy some staple foods such as rice noodles, but once again set my sights on some small commodities that do not occupy space, which can be used as snacks for Liang Wenjing. Apart from 2 bottles of external medicine, the biggest gain I got when I went out this time was the ginger candy I found in the corner. Take it out and chew it twice a day, which has a good cold repellent effect. After returning home, Liang Wenjing was very happy to see snacks. Under such natural disasters, others could not even eat food, and he could still eat snacks. It can be said that his happiness was overwhelming. I told Liang Wenjing to eat boldly. I will go out to buy materials in recent days. Hearing this, Liang Wenjing did not explain. Now the situation outside is getting more and more serious. The purchasing currency of the public security system overloaded. The bank should be about to be issued. The shopping mall has no purchase channel and will collapse sooner or later. Once the shopping mall and the bank cannot survive, the social order will be completely untenable. Liang Wenjing asked, "Will anyone rob the mall?" I nodded, indicating that I would definitely. Now the robbery has begun. Although it is only a few, as long as the shopping mall is about to sell short, the crowd will not be able to hold it, but the monetary system will collapse, so we need to spend all our money in advance. After listening to me, Liang Wenjing thought of this. If everyone starts robbing, then the money can't be traded. Then I took out half of the cash at home, gathered everyone in the living room on the first floor of Yu Shifeng's house for a small meeting, and then distributed the cash to him and Wei Fatty. At first, the two families were still a little embarrassed and refused all the time. After my explanation, the two families agreed to accept it. At such times, the more united people are, the greater their strength will be. Wei Fatty's family has a lot of supplies. Yu Shi Summit Surgery can protect everyone, so neither family is taking my cash for nothing. Finally, at my suggestion, the 3 families reached a cooperation and prepared to get through the crisis together. Of course, the premise is to take the safety of their families as the starting point. After that, I took out 2 lists and gave them to Yu Shifeng and Wei Fat, telling them to prepare food and water for 3 days according to this list when going out in the future to avoid being trapped outside in danger. Yu Min suggested that each of the 3 families should make a list of all the things they have in their homes. This time they went out to sourcing mainly by those that were not enough. Although my family has enough food, it is only for my family to eat for more than 2 months. However, there are many things that can be cooked in our family, and the tangled fat Wei is drooling. The Wei Fatty family has the largest food stock, with more than a dozen bags of rice, some in 10.00 kilograms and some in 25.00 kilograms. Even if the 3 families eat together, they can eat for nearly a year. The Wei Shifeng family's food is only enough for the 2 of his family. Less than 2 months. However, there is a reserve owner of Wei Fatty family, and the 3 of them don't have to worry about this, so it is enough to sourcing some more things that can be used as dishes. Wei Fat has a lot of gallium reserves, including oil, salt, soy sauce, vinegar, various condiments, etc. Unfortunately, snacks, canned foods and other foods are almost sold. In terms of water sources, Wei Fat's family has a large amount of mineral water, beverages, and milk, which does not include the part snatched by Xiao Zhao and others. These resources are enough for us to eat. In the first half of the year, both Yu Shifeng and my family had a large water storage bucket, which drank almost the same as the water in the water storage tank. The difference was that my family began to use rainwater, and Yu Shifeng's family began to use the water in the water storage bucket. After we sum it up, we will cook a big pot of rice directly and the 3 families will eat it together, which can save and utilize water and fuel to the greatest extent. As for the allocation of cooking, they do not intend to share their own resources directly, but each person will give a part of it and add it together after using it. This is not easy to cause conflicts. At present, my family pays for them to have the opportunity to go out and buy their own scarce goods, so they have guaranteed the staple food for 2 months for the fat man's family. Liangying and Anzai Upping are mainly responsible for cooking the water and gas of Yu Shifeng's family. Therefore, in terms of fuel for eating at Yu Shifeng's house, my house has 2.5 cans of gas, Wei Fatsy's house has 1.5 cans of gas, and Yu Shifeng's house has 2.5 cans of gas. As far as fuel is concerned, our fuel reserves are very scarce. Even if the 3 companies are combined, it will last at most 3 to 4 months, so we need more fuel. In terms of drugs, my family has the most complete range of drugs, including antibiotics, stomach medicine, external injury medicine, headache medicine, cold medicine, and vitamins. Yu Shifeng's family originally had a lot of external injury drugs and medicine. Last time I borrowed 500 yuan from him, he only bought a little cold medicine, and the rest was used to buy food. So his family except for the fall. There are also other drugs with little reserves. Wei Fat's family only has regular cold medicine, antipyretic medicine, and stomach medicine. Therefore, if you encounter drugs, you can buy them. If you can get more, you can get more. I have 500 tablets in vitamin reserve, so I gave 100 tablets to Yu Shifeng and Wei Yuqi's family. In an environment where you can't eat fruits and vegetables, long-term vitamin deficiency can affect new skin diseases and other chain reactions. Therefore, if there are conditions to supplement, it is natural to supplement well. In terms of consumables, Wei Fat's family has soap, sanitary napkins, paper towels, disposable bowls and chopsticks, disposable cups, plastic wrap, garbage bags, shower gel and a series of daily necessities. Therefore, they have sufficient resources in terms of consumables. It is the cleaning agent used by women, and the other 2 do not have much in reserve. But that's something women discuss in private. I didn't get it on the table and said that there was still disinfectant that could filter rainwater. Wei Fatty's house also had disinfectant. Although it was not 84 disinfectant, it should also come in handy. It's cool in the morning. There are many slightly fat people in the 3 categories of tobacco, alcohol, and tea. That's all we can sort out at present. There must be some details that we haven't noticed. After 2 days of rest, we found 2 swimming goggles from Wei's house and prepared to try our luck at the flooded vegetable market 1 kilometer away. For it, we can first find the building that sells gas, and then dive down the building. The biggest obstacle is that the door may be locked. I thought about it and said it was a rolling shutter door. Hearing this, Yu Shifen breathed a sigh of relief. The rolling shutter door is easy to handle. If it is a big iron gate, it is difficult to handle in the water. We decided to take a chance and tie a rope to ourselves and form a string of moonstones. The wind hit the head and broke the back. Wei Fatty and I are not too losing water, can only rely on them. We moved slowly forward around a swimming ring. When we got into the water, we felt bitterly cold. The debris and garbage in the water made it very difficult for us to swim. Fortunately, there were houses and swimming rings that were not completely submerged to help us float. When swimming through the gap between the houses, the current suddenly became turbulent, low and undercurrent. Yongyu swam past the wind first and pulled the rope across the street so that we could barely swim past. The muddy yellow water stank, and we needed to cross a road about 10 m wide to reach the vegetable market. However, the vegetable market has been flooded, we can only see a vast ocean. There is at least a 50 m distance from our current position to the building selling gas, and the current on the road is extremely turbulent, which makes us feel very helpless. Lose the rope and I'll swim there first. The more the wind said, untied the original rope on the body and tied another longer one to the belt. He put on his eyes, took a deep breath and plunged into the water. He went into the water with a steel pipe and tried to pry open the door lock. However, the underwater environment was much more complicated than we thought. He pressed the steel pipe hard, but only a faint sound could be heard. When he surfaced, I found his eyes full of determination and reluctance. The steel pipe is bent. I'll try it down again. If the wind took off the blindfold, took a deep breath and jumped into the water again. I watched him disappear under the water, my heart was full of tension and expectation. This time he successfully pried open the door lock, but this was only the first step. Next, he was going to go into the water with Wei Qi to pull the door. I watched the two of them dive into the water, praying silently in my heart. After a while, 2 heads appeared on the water, and both the moon and Wei Qi floated up safely. As soon as he came out of the water, Wei Qi choked out a lot of water. The rolling door had been opened by them, and a stream of water poured in. It was our limit to pull the rolling door. Moon as the wind dived into the water again, groped out a space for people to pass through, and found a few tin cans. Although we can't be sure if there is gas in it, we decided to pull one of them up first. The 3 of us pulled the gas tank to the water together and waited for the fat man. The excitement was full, which made us all breathe a sigh of relief and full of hope. I decided to go in the water and try it myself. I changed into glasses, hung one end of the rope on my body and one end on my wrist, and then followed the guidance of Yu Shifen to try diving. The first dive made me a little nervous. The strangeness of the underwater environment and the gravity of the water pressure made me feel a little uncomfortable, but I quickly adapted to this environment and successfully entered the rolling door. Under the guidance of the memory of the inner Yue Shenfen, I successfully touched the gas tank, then tied it with a rope and dragged it out of the rolling shutter door. After surfacing, I felt excited and proud. The 4 of us worked together to transport the 2 gas back. Although we had to pass through a wide road halfway, with the help of swimming rings and ropes, we successfully completed the task. When we carefully transported the gas tank to Yu Shifeng's house, Jane Zhang was shocked and delighted. Shifeng said that there should be 5 or 6 cans of gas in the store that had not been transported. The news excited all of us. In the evening, everyone cooked a sumptuous dinner at Yu Shifeng's house. After eating, we outings began to train as usual to make our bodies sweat so as not to catch a cold. I noticed that Jane Zhang was practicing darts in the living room and told her that I had asked my mother to burn hot water so that she and Yumin could take a bath to relax. After a while, Jane Zhang and Yumin came out of the bath. Their hair was wet on their shoulders, and their faces were filled with comfortable smiles. Yumin also found scissors and cut Jane Zhang a clean short hair. At this time, it was completely dark outside, and the next day we continued to go to the vegetable market to fish. I was lucky to be rushed to the next store by an undercurrent and accidentally touched the bottled mineral water. At the same time, I decided to look for more supplies in the water. However, we are limited in our ability to stay underwater for too long. So I started thinking about how we could improve our equipment so that we could breathe underwater for longer. It is proposed to punch holes in the lenses, connect mineral water bottles, and seal them with glass glue. On October 20th, we went out to look for a hardware store and finally bought glass glue. After buying glass glue, we did not rush back and decided to use all our cash to go to the pharmacy to buy medicine. We could buy as much as we could. There are 5 pharmacies, 2 health stations, 2 stomatological hospitals, a people's hospital and a traditional Chinese medicine hospital in lane 27 near us, but the situation in these places is not optimistic. The nearest health station has never opened its door, while the one far away has been killed and robbed. Of the 2 stomatological hospitals, one street clinic is also closed, and the other is a national chain, on the 4th floor of Quanta Plaza, but we have never been there, and the chance of opening the door seems slim. Although the traditional Chinese medicine hospital is relatively close, I once passed by and saw that the outside was already full of bodies. Although the people's hospital is relatively far away, Wei Fatzi and Yu Shifeng have been there. They told me that the situation there is equally bad. Although there were still people working when we went last time, it is definitely impossible to buy medicine there now. The remaining 5 pharmacies are our only hope. So, Wei Fatty and I went to buy medicine in a group, while Yu Shifeng Kevik looked outside. Entering the pharmacy, there was an elderly aunt, an old man and a middle-aged man looking at the store. The shutter door of the pharmacy had been pulled down, leaving only a little boy, and a heavy table was used behind the door to block the front of the store. A couple were asking for medicine. The woman's face was sallow, her legs were swollen, and she couldn't put her pants down. I wanted to wait until they finished buying, but they kept trying in front of the door. Listening to their conversation, it turned out that the hospital was already in a mess. The doctors were afraid of death and ran home. The medicine was also robbed. The pharmacy ant's eyes also showed golden sand. Doctors are lawless. If it weren't for the above regulations, he wouldn't have to open the door here on tenterhooks. Everyone knows how messy it is out there now. I often hear screams in the middle of the night. The pharmacy ant urges me. What do you want to buy behind? Hurry up and take a step forward. Cold medicine, diarrhea medicine, external injury medicine, mask, iota 4, and bandage are all required. He gave me a surprised look and then began to take medicine according to my request. Almost every medicine was opened and sold without giving too much. In the end, it cost more than 6,000 yuan to just fill my backpack. After leaving this pharmacy, we went to another one. During the process of buying medicine, I was always vigilant for fear of being discovered. Fat Wei and I walked into the second pharmacy we had visited. The proprietress of this pharmacy is Aunt Lu, who is in her 50s, but still looks hale and hearty. I told her directly that we needed some spare medicine, and she turned around and went to the shelf to get the medicine. I watched the door of her pharmacy open, with her alone inside, and I couldn't help worrying about her safety. Now there have been many robberies outside. I heard that even the hospital is not on duty, but Aunt Lu doesn't seem to care. She pulled out a heavy long knife from under the shelf and told me with sharp eyes that he was not afraid of those robbers. I was a little surprised, but at the same time I felt some peace of mind. At this moment, a crisp child's voice came from the inside of the shelf. A little girl's head came out from behind the glass cabinet. She had a lovely smile on her face and played coquetry with open front teeth. Fat Wei couldn't help but reach out and pinch her round little face, amused by his cute action. Aunt Lu quickly took the little girl to the inner room and came back to check out with me. He readily said he wanted 3,000 yuan. I didn't say anything and counted 3,000 yuan in cash to him. After buying the medicine, Wei Fatty and I were going to go home. However, on the way out, we suddenly heard a rapid footsteps. Then a middle-aged man rushed out of the alley and shouted in horror to run. I immediately realized that there was danger and quickly pulled Wei Fatty aside. Sure enough, 3 more men with kitchen knives rushed out of the alley. They looked ferocious and their eyes swept around us. I noticed that they all had a black ribbon tied around their left wrists, which looked like a sign of some kind of tissue. I pulled Fatty Wei to run frantically, and the chase behind me was getting closer and closer. I knew we had to find a hiding place soon. When I passed by a few passers-by, I also shouted to them to run, but their reaction was not as fast as mine. One of the 40 or 50-year-old middle-aged men was cut in the neck by a kitchen knife because his hands and feet were a little slow, and blood splashed out instantly. I didn't dare to stay, so I had to continue to run forward. The Moorwind and 2 other innocent passers-by also fled with us. I realized that the other party may not be seeking revenge or temporary intentions, but a mob who takes advantage of social chaos to make trouble. We got into a dead end. Seeing the chase getting closer, I pointed to the houses on the left and right of the alley and shouted, "Go up." We climbed up the building's security window and balcony security fence, almost climbed out of the security window on the second floor, stepped on the air conditioning rack, pulled the security window in one hand, and held a weapon in the hand. As soon as we stood firm, 3 people with black ribbons chased us. I looked around and found that the other end of the dead end seemed to be a courtyard. There was a car parked under the wall. If we had to jump into the courtyard wall. I moved in the direction of the courtyard wall, secretly planning the next line in my heart. The 3 who came after saw all 6 of us hanging on the wall. The oldest one laughed curiously. "Why are you hanging so high? Are you playing a game?" I didn't answer him. I just stared at him coldly. The middle-aged man who was killed and his eldest brother stared at him angrily, gnashing his teeth and cursing, "You scum on the road." Another young man passing by angrily denounced them. However, these thugs were not ashamed, but smiled triumphantly. One of them also threatened us with a kitchen knife and said that we could not let us leave. My heart was tight, knowing that we must find a way to get out as soon as possible. At this moment, the leading middle-aged man folded back and found a few stones under the corner of the wall. While picking them up, he showed a self-intoxicated expression and said that the society is such a law of the jungle. "Once I might not be as good as you, but now I am your master." He weighed the stone in his hand, and his eyes fell on the face of the round-faced young man. "Looking at your clothes, he should be quite rich." "What brand is your clothes?" the round-faced youth replied with a sneer. "A brand you can't afford." However, this seems to have angered the mob even more. Suddenly, the middle-aged man threw the stone in his hand at me. I was on guard, so I hid quickly. The stone fell on the anti-theft net and did not hurt me at all. He looked at me with an epiphany expression, then bowed his head and mumbled to himself, then turned away with a kitchen knife. When I looked back, he gave me an indescribable smile, which made me feel creepy. The 3 of them just disappeared, leaving us shocked. The round-faced youth thinks there must be a conspiracy, and so do I. We waited where we were for a while, didn't see them back, so we decided to jump off the courtyard wall. I carefully stepped on the courtyard wall inlaid with glass slag and watched the blackoutie below jump gently and successfully jump to the side. Although our feet were numb, we quickly opened the big red wooden door of the courtyard and left quickly. The 3 people really didn't chase us again, which made me feel very strange. I'm not sure why they let us go. Especially the middle-aged man looked into my eyes and made me feel that he knew me, but I had no influence on him. In this society where order is absent, everyone stands on the same starting line, and money, power, etc. are all reshuffled. We came to the vegetable market again. Yu Shifeng dived into the water with his modified swimming goggles. We found 8 cans of gas in a gas shop and 13 barrels of bottled tap water in the mineral water company nearby. In the following days, Wei Qiu and Shifeng and I took turns to search for nearby shops. I have fully adapted to the underwater environment. Although I'm not seeing anything, with experience, I can explore in the water with ease. In a wholesale food store, I found many snacks and accidentally found a door leading to a warehouse or the owner's residence. I opened the door carefully and felt the water flow of the 2 temperature differences meet. After the water flow stabilized, I slowly dived in along the wall and felt a wooden cabinet. The contents of the cabinet had drifted everywhere, but I still found a whole box of canned glass and food such as 8 treasures porridge. After returning to Yu Shifeng's home, the room was filled with the fragrance and warmth of rice, and clean clothes and towels were neatly folded on the table. After a simple wash, I saw Liang Wenjing and Yu Min squatting at the door sorting out the backpacks we brought back. Looking at canned oranges and 8 treasure porridge, they were as excited as how long they hadn't eaten fruit. I told them that they only moved back part of it today, and there were many more for them to eat casually. Smell speech, Liang Wenjing's eyes sparkled, holding orange spoil head happiness almost rolled on the ground. The food was served on the table. In addition to pickles and ham, there were also pimples and canned fruits. Everyone brought their own dishes, but they all tacitly agreed to eat only their own dishes. Liang Wenjing brought bean curd, dried plum vegetables and clove fish to make everyone shine. Yu Min looked at the dry biscuits in his hand and immediately felt that they were not fragrant. Liang Wenjing mixed clove fish, bean curd, and rice and ate them with relish. Wei Fatty also added them rudely, sighing that these things were still eaten. Yu Min tasted it, frowning and feeling strange. When he saw it, he only laughed and told him that he had to eat with the meal. Liang Wenjing said excitedly that she would make preserved eggs for everyone to eat at night. During the chat, we found that the reserve situation of each family is different. Yu Shifeng mainly buys staple food, Wei Fat bought a lot of wine, and I reminded them to buy more omnivores, but each family has its own considerations and choices. While they were chatting, Yu Ming silently picked up a piece of clove fish. The food was really delicious. Such scenes were commonplace for Yu Min. Since our family moved to his house, the food has changed dramatically. Like today's glutinous rice noodles, although not bad, but yesterday's mother Liang Ying made a simple handheld cake, that is a delicious. I still don't understand why Jane Zhang Liang Wenjing would talk about her mother's cooking skills. After dinner, the sky gradually darkened. We sorted out today's harvest together and put it into a storage room specially vacated by Yu Shifeng for us. Just then, 2 men walked into the alley. They were looking for Fatty Wei. After seeing Wei Peng, the 2 men shouted happily, "Hey, bro, I finally found you." The 2 men who came here were fat and thin, wearing pointed straw hats and black Taoist robes. Their appearance reminded me of chivalrous men walking Wild World. They walked straight towards Fatty Wei, who seemed to know the fat man and called him Lao Zhou. My heart tightened, and Wei Qi looked at each other, then came from the 3rd floor, the weapons in his hand are ready, just in case. Through the big iron gate, we hid behind the rolling shutter door of Wei Fatty's house and listened quietly to their conversation. Lao Zhou seemed to have some friendship with Wei Fatty, and they talked about the past. I learned that Wei Fat Zi and Lao Zhou used to work in the same factory. Later, due to some misunderstanding and discord, Wei Fat Zi resigned and opened this convenience store. Although I haven't seen him for many years, Lao Zhou's sudden visit made Wei Fatty a little confused. Lao Zhou finally explained his intention. He brought a man named Lao Fan, who is said to be a senior member of the Deep Blue City Wushu Association. Lao Zhou claimed that they had an insider to be involved in things, but considering the bad situation now, thought of Wei Fatty. Hearing this, Wei Yu and I looked at each other, and our hearts were full of vigilance. Fat Wei also seemed to be worried. He mentioned the robbery of his store and said he did not dare to go out easily. Lao Zhou was stunned after hearing this. He turned around and saw the destroyed rolling shutter door, showing a surprised expression. Fat Wei still had clear scratches on his face. He reluctantly pointed to the scar to Lao Zhou. Lao Zhou angrily denounced the lawlessness while revealing the existence of an internal association. This association is derived from Lao Fan's Wushu Association and provides protection and resources for members, not only martial arts masters, but also much needed public resources such as doctors and nurses. Lao Zhou said that as long as he becomes a member of the association, he can give priority to these resources and even have personal bodyguards. As soon as Lazeo heard that there was a personal bodyguard, he immediately asked about the price. Lazeo only felt that Lazeo was sincerely tearing down his platform and did not answer directly, but continued to emphasize the importance of the association. He said that the society is now in chaos, robbery and murder are everywhere, the legal system is in vain, and the existence of the association is to protect law-abiding people like them. Wei Fatty also sighed with emotion, thinking that there was nothing in his store anyway, so he invited the 2 of them to talk in the convenience store. When Fatty Wei and others crossed the road, Lazeo and Yueshi followed. The store was dark, only a small door was opened, chilly and dark. As soon as he came in, Lao Zhou almost ran into Wei Qi and me. He looked at me in surprise and said, "Your son is so tall." Smell speech, vague response for Fat. After Lao Zhou sat down, he observed the situation in the house through sporadic light. The shelves were staggered, the floor was full of sludge, and the only items on the shelves were all daily necessities, but the food shelves were empty. Lao Zhou sighed and asked if he had been robbed. Wei Fatty answered him affirmatively. Lao Zhou pointed at me again and said, "Xiao Wei, pour some water for his uncle. He was thirsty and hungry all the way." Hearing this, Wei instinctively wanted to go, but I patted Wiki and entered the back room myself. In the kitchen, I found several cups and half a bottle of mineral water. I took out the cups and mineral water and put them on the cash register and wiped them with the corners of my clothes. Lao Joe was talking to Wei Fatty about the association. Seeing my scene, he said how unhygienic it was and there was no water. I hesitated and answered, "Is the rain okay?" Lao Joe nodded helplessly. Wei Yuqi was holding back a smile while the moon was the wind. He looked at me silently and poured 2.5 cups of cold mineral water to Lao Joe and Lao Fan, who was wearing a robe. Lao Joe finished drinking one mouthful and said discontentedly, "How is it cold water? Even a cup of hot water is not willing to give uncle to drink." He complained that I didn't know the rules. For the fat man embarrassed to scratch his head, Lao Joe sighed again and began to tell the purpose of his coming. He wants to take us to join the association, but he needs to pay certain materials or technology as the membership fee. I asked him how much senior members have to pay, and he said that it depends on the regulations of the association. I looked embarrassed and said, "Our house has been robbed and there is nothing left. Can you lend us some rice first?" Lao Joe almost fell off the bench when he heard this. He looked at me, speechless. The moon is the wind, looking at me, with a flash of appreciation in my eyes. He seemed to see through my tricks, but he didn't expose me. I took the opportunity to ask Lao Joe if he could give us some cold medicine if he joined the association. Hearing this, Lao Joe almost smashed the cup in his hand out. He must be mad at me in his heart. This boy who didn't know the rules in his eyes at the beginning has made him feel a little difficult now. It's really capsized in the gutter. Before it started, I wanted benefits, which was more shameless than me. Lao Joe is an old Jianghu after all, and it is not so easy to reveal the truth. He smiled and said, "I can apply for you." I said, "Thank your uncle first, thank you fart." Lao Joe just wanted to vomit blood in his heart. He wanted to come to us to get some benefits. Now it seems to be daydreaming. He rushed over as soon as he had finished his meal and was almost washed away by the water on the road, not to mention how embarrassed he was. Lao Joe made an excuse to leave. Wei Fatty waved his hand, "Brother, for so many years, you must take this matter to heart." Lao Joe's smile on his face is almost gone. He even said that it is necessary. "Do we have any friendship?" I'll try to say. Uncle, walk slowly. Lao Joe's face completely collapsed. Before he stood up, I told him to walk slowly. Isn't this driving people? How did Fat Wei give birth to me so unruly? His son, Lao Fan, could no longer face up and took the lead in stepping out of the door. Lao Joe did not dare to offend this Taoist master who could martial arts, and hurriedly chased him out. But his heart was so angry that he came empty-handed and left empty-handed. Where did he put his face? So when he went out, he saw the daily necessities inside the door. His eyes lit up and asked, "Bro, do you have a lot of buckets here?" I said there were not many buckets and a lot of garbage cans. Uncle Joe wanted it. Lao Joe thought it would be okay for me to finally get to the trash can. It is also a big use to receive rainwater. I said this is garbage. Lao Joe has already taken 2 or 3 in the past. It is okay to hold water in his arms. It looks like he's trying to grab 2 trash cans back. A chivalrous man is also called a chivalrous man when he goes back without rubbing something. I stressed that it was really rubbish. Lao Joe smiled and said, "It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter." Then they walked outside the door with the trash can in their arms. Lao Joe and Lao Fan turned to leave. But without taking 2 steps, Lao Joe suddenly recalled what I said. The more he recalled, the more he felt something was wrong. That boy was not scolding me, was he? Lao Joe was really angry, thinking that he was a Jianghu man. How did he fall on a smelly boy? Anyway, he would not meet well in the future to train him, so he turned back and shouted, "Hey, bro." Wei Fatty, who was about to close the door, leaned out half of his body and asked, "What's the matter?" Lao Joe had just started his hair when he suddenly smelled a bad smell. He wrinkled his nose and smelled it hard. He felt that the smell was even heavier, as if it had been brought by a gust of wind just now. "Why is it so ugly?" Fat Wei didn't feel it at first, but he also smelled it, as if there was a bad smell, and it felt like it was bad. I suddenly remembered one thing and ran to the wall. The last time I cleaned up the body, I forgot to deal with it. It should be rotten. I said to myself, is there a lot of bacteria after the corpse decomposes? Lao Joe's face has changed when he heard the words such as the decay of the corpse. What body? Wei Fatty explained that there must be bacteria accidentally injured during the robbery, and we have to deal with it quickly. Hearing this, Lao Joe's 3 garbage cans grunted to the ground and got out of the way. Only then did he return to his mind. He didn't even bother to pick up the trash can, so he hurried away, shouting as he ran, "Brother Wei, my family still has to leave in advance." Fat Wei can't stop laughing. "It belongs to you." Yu Shifeng and Wei Qi also laughed without tension. I sipped my mouth and said nothing. In fact, I didn't expect the ending to be so dramatic. Lao Joe was scared away by the corpse. In the evening, there was a scene in Wei Fatty's convenience store. Before long, Lazao and Yu Shifeng left. Before leaving, they agreed to come together tomorrow to help carry the body. In the morning, a few of us men put on masks and disposable gloves and carried the bodies to the back of the farmland and abandoned them. Fat Wei was kind and dug a hole for him. He simply buried the body. It was slightly rotten and odor-smelly. Fat Man didn't eat much lunch. Recently, the robbery situation outside has become more and more serious, and it may not be far from the collapse of the order, I guess. I still have thousands of cash on me, and I don't lack anything, so I just want to be a favor. I plan to send 1,000 to Lao Chanjia and Luowajia on the 2nd floor. I have my own considerations and concerns in doing so, and I am by no means a good old man who gives money to others for nothing. I took the money and knocked on the door of Lao Chen's house. It was Lao Chen who opened the door. He looked very decadent and depressed, his face was full of slags, and his eyes were cloudy and yellow. I handed him the money and he borrowed it without saying anything. I reminded him to buy medicine and other supplies as early as possible, and then turned to leave. Listen to Mr. Chen's debt because of a car accident. Disasters and accidents are really severe. Then I knocked on Ro's door and gave him the money. What impressed me most was that he ran for more than 3 hours for a $12 business and only made $5. At that time, I thought it was normal that he could not make money from his small business. Later, when I saw that he could meet his son's needs without reason, I realized that he was indeed a good father. Unfortunately, he was not the kind I admitted, so I no longer envy Lo Jungsuan. I will give them the money and let them go out to sourcing some supplies. First, they should be in an emergency. When Lo saw this pile of red banknotes, his eyes brightened. He motioned with his hand and said, "How can this be done? How can you collect your money for no reason knowing that this is a little cash taken from home before the power outage? You should collect it first and go outside to buy something to prepare. You can't buy it later." Ro hesitated for a moment. Seeing my serious expression, he reluctantly accepted the money and thanked him repeatedly. I told him, "Don't be so polite, go shopping early is the real thing." Ro nodded in agreement. Suddenly asked about our trip to the vegetable market, I told him bluntly that we were going underwater to find food. After hearing this, he suddenly realized, but he felt that it was too dangerous and finally gave up trying. I turned around and walked to Yu Shifeng's house, but heard a quarrel on the second floor of my house. Then I saw Chen Beiyi coming out of the house. He looked a little embarrassed, but when he saw me, he pretended to be tall. He went to Yu Shifeng and asked him to help buy medicine, because her mother was ill. This was because she complained in my ear that Yu Shifeng was pitiful. But I don't think so. I think Chen Beiyi is taking advantage of our kindness to let us run errands for him, so that he can succeed so easily. Yu Shifeng over there has decided to help Chen Beiyi go out to sell on his behalf. He is asking for details of what he wants to buy, so I walked over and interrupted their conversation. I told Yu Shifeng that it was dangerous outside and he could not go out alone. I suggested that we accompany him to go shopping together to ensure safety. Yu Shifeng was relieved to hear that he was not here to stop him. "I'll call some uncles together, it's okay." Fen looked at Chen Beiyi, his eyes full of concern. However, I felt that it was not that simple, so I interrupted, "Miss Chen, if you are not in a hurry, we will go out tomorrow, and we can bring something back by the way." Yu Shifeng also nodded and echoed. It is true that every time you go out, it is an adventure. If you can lose one, you can lose one. Chen Beiyi shook his head eagerly. "No, my mother's illness can't be delayed. He can't get out of bed." Moon Shifeng frowned and hurriedly asked about his illness, but Chen Beiyi was entirely ignorant and just looked at us with tears in his eyes. My heart moved and thought of the couple I saw outside the drugstore that day. Did I take a deep breath and try to calm myself down? "What medicine do you want to buy?" Chen Beiyi was shocked. I don't know if I can invite a doctor back. I sighed in my heart, where to find a doctor in the current situation? I'm afraid the doctors are hiding. Yu Shifeng also looked embarrassed, but he still tried his best to comfort Chen Bao. "Don't worry, let's do something about it." At this moment, Yu Ming came over and took a cold look at Chen Beiyi. It has been 40 days since the power outage and the heavy rain and typhoon. The medical system has collapsed. You have a person who doesn't know what disease you have. Can you afford this price? His words pierced our hearts like a sharp knife. Yes, we got one person. Can we afford the price? Chen Beiyi's face turned pale instantly. She trembled her lips. How can you say that? But Yu Min is unmoved. I just remind you that if people want to live a valuable life, equivalent exchange is the only rule. With that, she turned and left. Yu Shifeng was too angry to speak. But I think Yu Min's words are not unreasonable. The situation is so bad now, we really need to think it over. Liang Wenjing suddenly came out and broke the silence. Well, excuse me, if you find a doctor, the other party is willing to treat him, but the consultation fee is very high. Who will pay the consultation fee? Moonstone Maple instantly dumbfounded. When Liang Wenjing thought he would shrink back, he suddenly said firmly that it was really not easy for a seriously ill person at such a time. There was a glint of determination in his eyes, but I couldn't sit idly. He looked at them and said frankly, "Perhaps you think I am too stubborn and too virgin, but I do this without gratitude or pleasing others, just to have an explanation to myself after everything is restored." With that, he turned around and promised Chen Beiyi outside the door that I would try my best to help your mother find a doctor, but if the consultation fee is expensive, I can only do what I can. After all, I also have a family to support. Please understand. I looked at Yu Shifeng's resolute and stubborn eyes and knew that she was an iron star and had to make her own choice. I can't persuade him, nor am I qualified to influence his decision. Everyone has their own insistence. I understand. I just hope he can understand that his choice may affect the interests of all of us. He understands what I mean and promises to act without affecting the three of us. I'm a little relieved, at least he has a sense of propriety. After Yu Shifeng left, I continued my training, but Wei Qi seemed a little discouraged. I understood his feelings, but we couldn't stop. I urged him to continue training, but he asked me, "Lao Liang, what do you think we should do after the call?" How can I answer him? In fact, I don't know. After so many things, can we still live as before? I shook my head and told him to do what he had to do. Waika didn't seem satisfied with my answer. He sighed and said nothing more. I know he has a lot of thoughts in his heart, a lot of worries, but he can't say it. Maybe he just needs time to adapt to all this. I continue my training, while Wei Qi sits aside to rest. I know he has experienced a lot, maybe more than me, but he still needs to grow up and learn to face the cruelty of this world. In the living room, Liang Wenjing and Yu Min are practicing darts. I am very happy to see Liang Wenjing's great progress. In the kitchen, Aunt Zai Uping and Liang Ying were preparing dinner. I smelled a fragrance, which has been found again until today. Yes, Yue Shifen hasn't come back yet. Wei Fatty went to find him. I don't know what they will talk about, but I believe Yu Shifen will make the right choice. At this moment, I heard the sound of opening the door. Yu Shifen came back. His face was not very good. I knew what he saw, but I didn't ask. He just silently walked aside and sat down and began to meditate. After Yu Shifen arrived at the Chen family, he saw the woman in front of him lying on the bed, and the fire of life flashed weakly. He looked at Chen Beiyi helplessly and asked why he didn't seek the ruins as soon as possible. Chen Beiyi uncovered the wet quilt, revealing her mother's swollen and purple body. Disease has long been lurking, and power outages are only the trigger for complications. Yu's wind has a headache. Even in the past, such a condition was difficult to treat, not to mention now, he can only make Chen Beiyi psychologically prepared. Chen Beiyi's eyes showed hatred and tears welled up. He begged Yu Shifen to save her mother. Despite being powerless, Yue Shifen decided to do her best. He took off his raincoat, wrapped Chen's mother and secured her to her back with a rope. Out of the door, Mr. Chen was still sleeping on the sofa, unaware of what was in front of him. Yu Shifen was furious in his heart, but he also knew that venting would not help. There are always some people in this world who are not worthy of being parents and taking on the responsibilities of husbands. They give birth without raising, raise without teaching, and even bite their children. Yu Shifen, carrying Chen Beiyi's mother, happened to meet Wei Fatty. Seeing this, Fat Wei hurriedly put on a mask to remind him to prevent possible infection. Although Yu Shifen realized this, it was inconvenient to show it in front of Chen Beiyi. He felt guilty and accepted Wei Fatty's kindness. After deliberation, the two decided to go to the pharmacy to find a doctor. Fat Wei decided to accompany Yu Shifen out of friendship with Lao Chen. He confessed that he was as noble as my world style, but he was only doing his part. Yu Shifen responded with a wry smile, and he was just asking for peace of mind. Fat Wei went back to change into a raincoat and told Chen Beiyi to wait for Yu Shifen at home. With only 600 yuan, Jianqi, Chen's mother, and Wei Fat left lane 27 together. The food at home was fragrant. Chen Beiyi stood quietly under the eaves and watched them leave. The rain hit his instep, and his fair face looked very delicate in the rain. However, his personality often makes him as aggressive as a hedgehog. On the second floor of Yu Shifeng's house, Liang Wenjing was tired of practicing and leaned against the window to steal canned fruit. Yu Eming also joined him, and the two shared the sweetness of oranges. Yu Eming lamented that human fate seemed to be innate and could not be chosen. Liang Wenjing did not want to delve into it, just wanted to enjoy the beauty in front of him. As night fell, the moon was the wind and the slightly fat man braved the wind and rain to return home. They settled Chen Beiyi's mother, but they were scolded by Mr. Chen. Mr. Chen was ungrateful for their help, but he was abusive. Wei Fatty looked at the old Chen in front of him and could not connect him with the elegant man once. However, the more shocking thing was still to come. Old Chen actually said that Chen Beiyi was not his biological daughter. This secret stunned everyone. After Chen Beiyi learned the truth, she rushed into the bedroom and closed the door heavily. Yu Shifeng and Wei Fatty looked at each other, don't know what to say, leaving Chinese medicine. Yu Shifeng and Wei Fatty can only leave. Things in this family seem to be more complicated than they imagined, but they can do nothing but hope that traditional Chinese medicine can alleviate Chen Beiyi's mother's pain. Yu Shifeng and Wei Fat Man carried Chen Beiyi's mother to Aunt Liu's pharmacy. However, Aunt Liu shook her head helplessly, saying that she could not be treated now. But under their plea, Aunt Liu provided the contact information of an old Chinese medicine doctor, but she could not guarantee whether the old Chinese medicine doctor would help. The two found the old Chinese medicine doctor with hope. Fortunately, the old Chinese medicine doctor was kind and willing to prescribe Chinese medicine prescriptions for them. He said frankly that after a course of treatment, if there is improvement, there is hope. If there is no improvement, then you must prepare for the worst. He did not receive the pillow, but Yu Shifeng insisted on sending some precious canned fruits to express his gratitude. Chen Beiyi's 600 yuan was used to buy traditional Chinese medicine. Although Western medicine is tight, Chinese herbal medicine can still last his life. Although the price of medicine has risen, Aunt Liu did not take the opportunity to price gouging, which is also a little consolation in misfortune. The Chen Bao family's affairs gradually subsided, and their figure faded in the days. It was only a few days after we heard that his mother had passed away and Chen Beiyi buried him alone in the wasteland. One night, shortly after Yu Shifeng and his dinner, Ro came to visit. He held a diving mask in his hand, more sophisticated than Wei Qi's. My son said this might be useful to you. He said. I took the mask, my heart full of gratitude. After discussing with Yu Shifeng and Wei Fatty, we decided to give part of the obtained items to the Lo family in the future underwater exploration. Although their family did not participate in the exploration, their share would naturally be less. However, Lo repeatedly motioned with his hand, no, this is just to thank you for the 1,000 yuan you sent in time. He said with some embarrassment. After a pause, he added, of course, if you do have extra supplies to donate to me, I will also be very grateful. After Ro left, we began to transform this new mask. With 2 masks, Fat Wei and I can take care of each other underwater, and the safety factor is greatly improved. This also allows us to challenge deeper waters and explore more possibilities. On November 1, 2032, there was a heavy rain and a power outage for 40 days. The city seemed to have been reduced to a dead ruin. The gloomy sky had never cleared up, and it seemed to be constantly announcing the end. Smashing and screaming one after another, and every day is worse than the previous day. Countless people rushed into shopping malls and banks with weapons, and order had completely collapsed. The city is like a dead giant bird, whose heart stops beating and meridians dry up. Those cells that cannot be nourished frantically ravage its flesh and blood, making the corruption, erosion, and sails of this giant bird visible to the naked eye. The torrential rain continued, and people living downstream were in a desperate situation. The rising water level has submerged half of the 20 meters. Residents downstream are homeless and have to gather upstream to seek shelter. Although the former village head no longer holds this position, for the sake of his own safety, he decided to take out the keys of the 2 rental houses at the entrance to help the homeless neighbors settle down temporarily. However, these newly moved residents have brought great challenges to the law and order upstream. Most of them are small merchants and hawkers in the vegetable market, drivers who run motorcycles, migrant workers in factories and construction sites, etc., all of which are available. Their arrival caused Wayfat's convenience store to be knocked open many times, and some people even tried to break in forcibly. Although Wayfatty repeatedly explained that the convenience store had been looted, there were still some difficult people who refused to give up. These newly moved residents, because their homes were submerged, food was scarce, and there was not enough bedding and clothes to change. They had to go door to door for help, looking for a trace of warmth and help. The woman next door to Yu Shifeng is a warm-hearted, solitary, experienced employee. She cannot refuse the requests and confidences of those women. Since they lent them some clothes, they went to the grandmother's house to chat every day. Grandma is also a lively person. She often goes to Yu Shifeng's house to chat with Aunt Zai-Upping. As a result, Lane 27 became noisy and chaotic as never before, making people feel extremely tired and powerless. In the early morning of November 2nd, a gunshot pierced the silence of the night and kicked off the madness. Outside, there were noises, and insults. Waves of people broke through the doors of shopping malls, banks, and various shops and robbed them with weapons. People who came up from the lower reaches of the river had a starving light in their eyes and heard the sound, just like evil spirits seeing food and rushing out of the house frantically. Our family's materials have been enriched by fishing in the water during this period, but in this chaotic world, we must keep a low profile and not attract other people's attention. So we locked the door and let Fatty Wei look after the house. Yu Shifeng and I dressed up the 3 of them, brought backpacks, and mixed emergency supplies and weapons into the crowd. When we went out, we met Luo Wei and his son. Luo Jungsuan wore a peaked cap, looked cold and said nothing. On the other hand, Luo is holding an umbrella. Even if it stands straight, it always gives people a feeling of bent back. Since I sent 1,000 yuan and some supplies to their family, our 2 families have been close. Luo is a very measured person, never greedy. He also occasionally brought us some fish, so that our food improved a lot. We have to hurry up, we'll be robbed if we're late. Rose said anxiously that Yu Shifeng nodded. Our first priority is safety and the second is materials. We closed the gate and set off. Wei Fat and Yueming and others in the house moved the marble dining table and blocked it at the gate just in case. The people of Lane 27 walked into the street and merged into the stream on the road. It is also going out in the middle, but unlike the last time people received relief food with hope, this time people's mood is intertwined with hope and despair. The crowds on the street formed small groups, keeping a vigilant distance from each other. Only the sound of rain, wind, and hurried footsteps echoed in the air. 5 of us rushed into the mall in the crowd. In the cluttered shopping mall, I am eagerly looking for clothes at the moment, and I am searching for targets with the same concentration as Yu's Hung. The 3 of us are like a well-trained team, shuttling through this ruined mall. On the first floor of the originally prosperous clothing area, jewelry area, now only the ground full of glass slag and chaotic people. Those expensive gold jewelry seemed to have lost their former charm and been forgotten in the corner. And people, their eyes were full of panic and greed, holding various tools in their hands, competing for the materials in front of them like wild animals. I glanced at the people who were still in vain at the acrobatic gold counter, and I couldn't help feeling a trace of sarcasm in my heart. These wealth, which is usually sought after by people, has become a shackle for them at this moment. We quickly selected the clothes and did not dare to stop at all. I picked up a t-shirt and smelled it. Although it smelled a little, it was better than this wet, smelly dress on my body. We tried to choose some neutral clothes to avoid unnecessary trouble. When we packed our clothes with garbage bags and were ready to leave, there was a loud noise inside the mall, and then the crowd poured out like a swarm of frightened bees. Something happened. Yu's Wind whispered and looked at his watch. They haven't come out yet. What should we do? I gritted my teeth, my heart filled with uneasiness. The gunshot reminded me of the fear I had last night. The city was crumbling bit by bit, and we were in the middle of it. In the panic of the crowd, I read a kind of blindness from the faces who were at a loss. They were just driven by panic to go with the flow and knew nothing about the real situation in the mall. Since the blackout, I have been constantly tempering my survival skills. I caught a man with a pale face and fear in his eyes. What happened inside? I asked in a steady tone. Killing with a soothing power, he stammered, every word as if it had been squeezed out of the depths of his throat. Men in black have guns, they kill indiscriminately in the mall. I instantly understood the seriousness of the situation. Men in black killed people with guns indiscriminately. This is undoubtedly a disaster. I looked around and didn't see the figures of Lo and his son, and my heart couldn't help sinking. We'll have to go in and take a look, I said. The voice is firm. The moon is the wind. Gave me a look and nodded slightly. Wei Yuqi did not speak, but his eyes told me that he also agreed with my decision. The 3 of us carefully sneaked into the mall and approached the large affordable supermarket on the 2nd floor. I know this may be a life or death adventure, but for the sake of the Lo and his son, we have no choice. Upstairs the situation was even worse than we expected, and I saw the men in black, cold and ruthless, with weapons in their hands. Scaped with blood, I heard people crying and begging for mercy, but those voices were only exchanged for more cruel treatment. My heart was broken, but I knew this was not the time for me to express my emotions, and I had to stay calm, find the Lo and sons, and then find a way to rescue them. The three of us walked in the dark, careful every step. Before reaching the gate of the supermarket, two men in black with broadswords were seen guarding the entrance vigilantly, and the entrance and exit were tightly sealed by them. We can't know the situation inside the supermarket, we can only hear a familiar melody, I walked into hell, and a man's rampant laughter. We have to find staff access, I say firmly. After some searching, we found a freight elevator passage behind the mall. Along the fire escape next to the goods ladder, we entered the supermarket warehouse smoothly. There is no sign of people in black here. From the warehouse, there is the first floor of the supermarket. We carefully passed through the warehouse and saw the appalling scene inside the supermarket through the vent above. On an open platform, 30 or 50 people were banned, including Ludo Wei and Ludo Jungsuan. They were surrounded by more than 20 men in black with weapons. They were young or middle-aged, and even a few strong women. There were several corpses lying on the ground, bloody and unblocked. The leader is a man with a three-fat haircut. He is doing an axe gang dance to the music on the radio, and the gun in his hand swings with his movements. Seeing this scene, my heart sank to the bottom. The man could be a performance artist, a lunatic house criminal. His appearance and personality are completely opposite, and his delicate face hides a distorted mind. Haha, I'm sweating all over. He laughed, flicked his coat and hung his gun on his trousers. He sat in a chair, scanned the crowd in front of him, licked his tongue and said, "Who will come next? You can decide for yourself. If I decide, it may be even worse." What's the performance artist talking about? His purpose does not seem to be simple robbery or murder. Liang Xiu even suspected that all this was carefully set up by this pervert to satisfy a certain desire that he could not satisfy in a society ruled by law. The armed forces of the mall were easily defeated. These so-called armed men had no guns in their hands, only electric batons and iron bars. They were so weak in the face of the ferocity of performance artists and their subordinates. The performance artist pointed casually, and his men rushed into the crowd to propose a man who was scared to cry, while the performance artist laughed happily. He took out a gun and dangled above the man's head, and then asked a question that had no answer at all. The man's answer did not satisfy him, so he was brutally cut off an arm, the scene bloody disgusting. Wei Yuki and Yu Shifeng were also frightened by this frightened scene, and only Liang Xiu remained calm. The trapped crowd could no longer bear this fear and torture, and they began to run around and fight fiercely with the men in black. However, the sound of footsteps outside gave them a sense of despair. Two groups of people, a group of hostages, who can win, who will lose, who can eventually escape, is life. After hiding in the warehouse for an hour, Liang Xiu decided to go out to check the bodies on the ground. Fortunately, he did not find the figures of Lo and his son. His name was Yu Shifeng. He had 3 of them and left them all carefully. However, on the way home, Liang Xiu accidentally found Ludo Jungsuan sitting alone on the steps of the intersection. His heart suddenly sank. Is something wrong with Lo? The 3 of us hurried forward. Yu Shifeng has hesitated to ask, "Where is your father?" Ludo Jungsuan sat on the steps like a waterfall, looking at the front with his eyes empty. This expression made the mood of the 3 of us sink and went back first. He said we were relieved, so why is he sitting here alone? The water was flowing and wet all his clothes. I saw the blood stains on his raincoat that had not been washed clean. In the same month, Shifeng Er said, "You go back to report peace first, put down the things and come out again. We'd better grab something while today is not very chaotic. There will be no more in a day or 2. I handed over my backpack to them. Yu Shifeng did not hesitate. In his opinion, I am a very thoughtful and calm person. My behavior has certain reasons. Wei Yuqi hesitated to watch Ludo Jungsuan and I leave quickly with Yu Shifeng, watching their figures disappear in the rain. I followed the current on the ground to find the source. Inside this narrow intersection, at the corner, a twisted figure fell here. This scratched face reminds me of some forgotten images in my memory, a game we encountered when we were young. I sat down and was silent, and so was Ludo Jungsuan. We listened to the rain and watched the garbage whizzing around in the muddy puddles and being swept into the abyss. No matter how noble they are in front of them, or how low they are to be trampled under their feet. But in this muddy puddle, they are all equal, and inferior, and equal destiny is destined to be swept by the current, rushing to the abyss where there is no turning back. Soon, Yu Shifeng and Wei Yuqi came back with empty school bags. We need to take advantage of the present to draw more resources for ourselves. What we still lack is fuel and medicine. So we decided to head to the pharmacy. Luo Wei came with Yu Shifeng. He thought we had left them behind, but he was obviously relieved when he saw us. "Let's go to the drugstore," Luo urged. The 5 of us hurried to the nearest pharmacy. There were many pedestrians on the road, and the public servants on the street also brought people a little peace of mind. However, this hint of peace of mind is not enough to make people put off the idea of robbery. When I arrived at the first big pharmacy, there were already many people outside. Several men in workers' clothes in the pharmacy were frantically delivering medicines, and the floor was covered with blood. We are a step too late, this pharmacy has been occupied by a group of workers. They hardly hesitated, apparently premeditated. The male owner of the pharmacy was injured and left, leaving a blood stain on the ground. Even if the onlookers had hot eyes, no one dared to come forward easily. I observed for a while and found that they could not empty everything in the pharmacy at once. So I asked Yu Shifeng and Wei Yu to stay here and see if they could pick up the leak after they left. Then, I hurried to another pharmacy closer with Luo Wei and Luo Jungsuan. When I arrived at the second pharmacy, I felt a sense of foreboding. The owner of this pharmacy was half an acquaintance to me, but by this time the glass door had been smashed and the shelves were empty. Just when I was disappointed, Ro wanted to turn around and leave. I ignored him and went straight to the pharmacy. As soon as I opened the door, I smelled a strong smell of blood. A young man was rummaging inside. Seeing me coming in, she nervously grabbed her self-defense weapon, but my eyes were attracted by the two grandsons who fell to the ground. The young man quickly defended himself, claiming that he had nothing to do with the matter. I looked around and noticed the footprints on the curtains, but Aunt Lou was nowhere to be seen. I sighed. Life is unpredictable, at this moment to see such a scene again, in addition to emotion, no other emotions. I walked out of the inner room and saw Luo Jungsuan still standing outside. I knocked on the Chinese medicine cabinet and motioned them to start loading Chinese medicine. Luo Wei reacted and searched for medicinal materials with me. The other two people who were searching for things also joined us. I went back to the inner room again, took out a white coat from the wardrobe and put it on the two men, and then reminded Ro that they should not take too much Chinese medicine, so as not to hold it. Although Ro is a little unreliable, he still follows my advice at the moment. The rain seemed to never stop, falling with the noise of the looters. I was one of them, even robbing an acquaintance's shop. I chose those Chinese medicines that have heard their names and vaguely know their effects and put them into my school bag. Lo ran to the inner room to search for things, but found nothing, but was startled. As he retreated to the cash register, he bumped into another person, a man in uniform. Ro exclaimed, but quickly receded to the side. I heard his exclamation and my heart tightened, but I soon regained my peace. Life and death are unpredictable, and God will not care for anyone. I walked to the cash register and saw the man in uniform, relieved, but also more vigilant. These men in uniform are obviously organized, they may be a factory employee came out to rob. The worker was wearing a gray uniform with the word sublimation chemical embroidered with red silk threads. Her neck was cut open and blood orange with easy teeth cut away appeared. This is obviously Aunt Liu's technique. She is a woman who knows kung fu and may have escaped now. But the three of us filled our school bags and had no more reason to stay. In the storm, we quickly crossed the street and arrived at the first pharmacy, which was empty. Yu Shifeng and Wei Yuqi were also missing and should have gone back. However, when I passed a fork in the road, I saw several men in gray factory uniforms. These people must have committed the crime by gangs. Their gang had at least 50 people. I decided to let Lo and Luo Jungsuan go back first. I was going to follow the chemical factory gang and find out their base. Don't go, it's too dangerous. Lo dissuaded, but I had made up my mind that I had to figure out the gang situation in order to trade in the future. I explained my idea to them, then threw my backpack at them, told me where I might go, and followed the factory workers who had gone far away. Finally, I confirmed that their nest was in an industrial park 4 kilometers away at the end of the month. This is a small and medium-sized factory. There may be dozens of factories of different sizes in the industrial park. I made a note of the location here and followed the same route back. On the way back, I walked through a park when suddenly there were screams and men's conversations from the rotten, smelly bushes soaked in rain. I stopped and watched carefully. The rain is gentle and intoxicating, but at the moment he only brings endless wet cold and mud. The flowers and plants in the park have long been soaked and rotten, and every leaf emits a fishy smell like seaweed. Such an environment makes people unable to stop and appreciate. I could only glance at it and then walk away quickly. When we arrived at lane 27, it was already dark, as if we were shrouded in a devil's filter. I saw from a distance that the stone dam of Yu Shifeng's house was surrounded by people, and a woman sat on the ground and let out a heartbreaking cry. My heart tightened and I hurried over. People were taken away by you and didn't come back for a day. They must have been hurt by you. The woman's face was black and she cried fiercely, but there was not a drop of tears in her eyes. His voice was sharp and harsh, as if Yu Shifeng and others were about to be eaten alive. Where is this? It is to seek justice, clearly in extortion. Yuemin has always been known for being quiet, but at the moment she can't help her forehead beating. He wanted to refute but felt that he was not strong enough for fear of being counterattacked by the other party. Liang Wenjing was lying on the doorframe with disgust, while Liang Ying and Xiaoping and others in the house chose to avoid the farce. The moon is the wind, and this honest man just holds his arm and looks on coldly. Lo was unlucky and ran into this difficult woman as soon as he came back. He paced anxiously on the 18 and tried his best to explain, but he could not dispel his suspicion. The woman's face was fierce, his stubby legs and feet swinging like Donald Duck, and he rolled around with no regard for decency. Lo had already explained his thirsty words, but he seemed to be trying his best to make a name for himself and did not listen to the truth. I know that this farce is just his use of the topic to blackmail. I looked at all this from a distance and knew it in my heart. In the neighborhood that went to the mall to snap up in the morning, someone died unfortunately, and the woman took this opportunity to blackmail us. She didn't really look for her husband, but wanted to take advantage of it. I have long had an impression of this woman. He lives downstream and makes a living by selling gadgets. The black spots on his face make me remember him deeply. He often used his familiar relationship with his grandmother to run to the Shiba of Yu Shifeng's house to chat. I have never enjoyed the arrival of him and these women. However, in this continuous rainy day, the Yueshi Fengjia has become the only place where they can hide from the rain and chat conveniently. Although we have repeatedly hinted that they will leave, they still come here to party. This woman is even more outstanding among them. On the first day he came up, he praised Wei Yu for being a godson, and then he wanted to recognize him as a godson. The next day he had the cheek to go to his godson's house to fight in autumn. Liang Wenjing was indignant about this and said that if he hadn't been unable to buy coke, he would have sprayed him to death with a mouthful of salt soda. I looked around and saw that most of the women onlookers were plainly dressed, with calluses on their hands and faces full of vicissitudes. They eat by labor, but they like to go from street to street to inquire about gossip. They always want to get some benefits from their neighbors, as if others are fools, and they have to tell evidence in everything. When I walked up to the woman, my voice was slightly cold. Why do you say that we hurt your husband? Is it just your mouth? The woman paused for a moment, then rolled up again. You are murderers. You killed my husband. He shouted at the top of his voice, but could not produce any evidence. I sneer at one, then you are quite daring. There was a slight chill in my voice, knowing that I was threatening us. I came from the rain and walked on the steps of 18. I shook the water on my body, hung my raincoat on the railing and opened my slightly damp coat. As soon as I came back, the atmosphere of Sheba changed instantly. The woman's arrogant arrogance met in front of him, and the cold water of the fire quickly withers down. He knew that this cold-eyed young man was not so easy to deal with. The crowd on the stone dam receded like a tide, leaving only the woman and a few onlookers. Women. The wrinkles on her face trembled and whispered, all scattered, all scattered. The woman woke up just now, realizing that she had been cleverly freed from it. He could have taken the opportunity to pester Yu Shifeng. The honest man's face was no match for him, but the red wooden door had slammed shut in his stupidity. Don't say punches and kicks, even if you chop with a knife, you can't break it with dozens or hundreds of times. I changed into clean clothes. When I walked out of the toilet, Liang Wenjing brought a bowl of water from the Lord of Spirit. I was surprised that they could find such precious medicinal materials. Although what is needed now is ginger and barley for dampness and warmth, Ganoderma lucidum may also come in handy. The house was filled with the fragrance of rice, which made people yearn for it. I know that the trifles at home have their own Liang Wen to worry about, and I don't need to pay too much attention. However, when I sat on the sofa, enjoying Liang Wenjing's gentle wiping of my hair, the anti-theft window behind me suddenly heard a violent blow. The indoor woman refused to stop and wanted to continue to make trouble, but I did not intend to talk to him. Now the environment, right and wrong is not important, some people for their own interests can be desperate. Is there wire in the house? I asked Liang Wenjing. He wanted to say, hardware store should have. I'm going to reinforce the house with wire to improve security. I nodded and looked at him. Then you can get some back and remember to hurry. Liang Wenjing answered and left. I went to the window and stared coldly at the woman outside the window. She seemed to feel my eyes, and her movements were slightly stagnant, but then she knocked on the anti-theft window more frantically. Indifferent, I turned to the kitchen and began to prepare dinner. As I jumped on the stove, the rice in the pot gradually emitted an attractive aroma. I know that no matter how noisy it is outside, life will always go on. Just then, however, a more violent vibration came, and the whole house seemed to shake. My heart was shocked. Is it not wrong to have an earthquake? There is a familiar and horrible rhythm in the vibration. It is a flood. I rushed out of the kitchen and saw that the water outside the window had risen rapidly and the woman was gone. I scolded secretly and ran to the door quickly, trying to open the door to escape, but the door did not move. I kicked a few feet hard, but still to no avail. Only then did I realize that I was in a desperate situation. The flood was so fierce that it would soon submerge the whole house, and I was trapped in the seemingly strong but actually fragile cage. I looked around for hope of escape. It was too late, however, and the water rose rapidly, quickly submerging my ankles. I felt a rush of despair in my heart, but then it was replaced by an inexplicable anger. I don't want to die like this. I struggled desperately, trying to find a glimmer of life, but the flood mercilessly swallowed everything, including my last hope. I felt my strength gradually exhausted and my consciousness began to blur. I know I have come to the end of my life, but I don't want to give up like this. I still have a lot of things to do and many people haven't seen me. However, the reality was cruelly in front of me. I felt my body getting heavier and harder to breathe. Finally, I couldn't hold on and fell into the cold water. At the last moment of losing one, I saw a light shining overhead, so bright and warm.